Welcome to the Logitech McLaren G Challenge Round 3 race weekend, everyone. I'm John Sargent, and this week we are going to be following EMEA and then APAC. Some of the best racers in 3 different disciplines of racings go wheel to wheel all evening long. I'm really looking forward to this, and joining me as always is Luke Crane. Luke, how are you doing this evening?
I am wonderful, thanks, John. Going through all of the qualifiers that have qualified for this month, and there's a lot of new names, and there's a lot of people that have tried this time, more so than any other month so far, so the standard is a lot higher. It's going to be fantastic.
Right. Well, let's get right to it then, because a lot of racers are waiting for us to go ahead and get started. Let's talk a little bit about the format. Luke, explain to our visitors today, our viewers even, how today's races will go down.
Yeah, make sure you sign in when you're visiting, guys, just so we know who's
right
here. So qualifying is 5 minutes long for the stock car series, and for open wheel and the ACC sports car variant, it's 10 minutes. It is lone qualifying for iRacing, which means that they're out on circuit all on their own. No one else can impede their lap. When it comes to Assetto Corsa Competizione, it is indeed everybody all out for themselves. Also, they get as many laps as they would like during the full 10 minutes as well, whereas there is a set number of laps for the iRacing drivers to indeed get their lap times in. Players are awarded points from first all the way down to 30th because, of course, we do have the top 3 that qualify. They're instantly through, but there is a narrative where all of the points accrue over the course of the 5 months, and if you never got yourself in that top 3 at all, you can still qualify being effectively one of the better placed drivers over the course of 5 months.
Precisely right, Luke. The most important thing about this weekend even is placing in the top 3, but you don't just have to place in the top 3. If you don't quite manage to make it onto those podium positions, the highest points earners will go through to the semi-finals at the end of the year as well. So very important to keep accumulating those points. And once you make it to the semi-finals, you want to focus on basically getting to the grand finals as well. The road doesn't actually finish off then. Let's take a look at the schedule for exactly what's going to happen this weekend. So as Luke mentioned, place in the top 3, you get points, but today's races are going to be on 3 different tracks and 3 completely different racing disciplines. First up, we've got the stock car race, and that's going to be on the Talladega Super Speedway. Next up, we'll then have the open wheel races, and that will be featuring Watkins Glen International. And finally, the sports car featuring the McLaren 720S GT3, I will get my words out tonight, will be on the legendary Brands Hatch circuit. And throughout the last month, hundreds of racers have tried qualifying in every discipline for their chance to be featured on today's broadcast, but only the top 30 in each have made it to today's show. We've got a lot of names, starting with the stock car here, Luke. Who are we on the lookout for tonight?
Well, one thing is to be looking out for John Sargent, because if he's mixing words already at 4 o'clock in the morning for the second broadcast, it's going to be an absolute mess. So definitely keep an eye out on that. Yes, anyway, for the EMEA region, let's get into the stock car then. Only one driver already qualified for the semi-finals has re-qualified this month. That is Florian Martin. He's currently 3rd in the overall points accumulation standings as well. He came 3rd in month number 1, so he's already booked his place, but he's back once again. Henrik Bieler is one to watch out for also. His biggest achievement in his career so far is making it to the Coke Series in iRacing. Terry Despoir is currently 2nd in the overall point standings with 77 points, but he is yet to qualify for the semi-finals. So fully expect him to be in and amongst it tonight. Let's head then to the open wheel. And well, we've got 2 drivers that are already qualified, people that you will indeed recognise if you follow the iRacing scene. That is indeed Martin van Loosenord and Sam Kuyter. Both Dutchies are both currently competing in the Pro Dallara series in iRacing. Kevin van der Slik will definitely be someone to look out for to book his semi-final tickets as well. He has been practicing with van Loosenord as well for this event. Lemonek will be our main one to watch though. Another Dallara Pro Series driver who will be competing in a G challenge for the first time. His greatest achievement is representing Poland at the Race of Nations 2021. Less than a second separates all qualified drivers in tonight's race. This will be a superb showcase and really an anyone can take it kind of affair. Heading then to the sports series, historically, this has been kind of the most competitive series for the EMEA region. And well, 0 drivers that have already qualified will be in this month's final. First time we've had that. So we will see 3 new drivers make it to the semi-finals. P1 and P2 from the qualifiers are locked out by Jordan Scherer and Tariq Adam, both from South Africa. Patrick Adamczyk is back once again. His best racing memory was winning his first Go4 Cup race on Project Cars 2. I remember these days really well, as actually I was competing back in those days. Patrick was a very ruthless driver, but fair to race against, that's for sure. This will more than likely be the most competitive race of the day, also the most wide open for the EMEA sports discipline thus far. North America came out last month and stole the show. With the talent here today from EMEA, they are looking to get the best region crown straight back.
I'm really looking forward to seeing things spice up, and hopefully we get to see all of the regions bump things up a notch this time around. But first, we're going to be moving into the qualifiers on Talladega. This is going to be something else to watch. A very interesting track, of course. Players are still going to be flat out, but we have our first tri-oval here at the Logitech G Challenge. So 5 minutes of qualifying for all of our drivers here. Let's see who comes out on pole.
Absolutely. Again, it's another wide circuit. It's another super speedway, and it will indeed promote side-by-side drafting. It will indeed promote some racing overtaking action as well. So don't be surprised if this is 2x2 for at least the first portion of this race. And as we head then towards the dying embers, it could still well be 2x2. I think we're probably going to expect that with the North America region. EMEA then have kind of been the second best placed in terms of the quality of racing when it comes to the stock cars, and maybe we'll see that here today. But side drafting is a huge factor with these cars. It was, I believe, season 2 of this year, they implemented the side drafting with the cars, and it's made it a lot more difficult for drivers. So the more experienced drivers will indeed be the ones to watch out for sure.
Now, if you're trying to figure out how to get better on this particular track in Talladega, then look no further. We've got a couple of tips and tricks just to show you an outline of the track in case you want to put in a couple of hot laps yourself. Let's see what you can do to shave a couple of thousandths off your lap time to get ahead of the competition. The Talladega Super Speedway, affectionately nicknamed Dega, is the longest NASCAR oval on the calendar and the record holder for the fastest speed in a stock car. Let's get stuck in. Compared to many other ovals, the track width at Talladega is wide, with corner exits that aren't as tight, so more speed can be carried through, and the whole track width doesn't have to be utilized. Stay as high on the track as possible on your outlap to build up maximum speed for your qualifying attempt. On corner entry, let the corner banking carry the car in, without unsettling the car over the yellow line. Keep steering straight and smooth on the exit, and let the car come out but not too wide to take the shortest sustainable line through the rest of the lap. The racing line around Talladega is tighter around the inside of the circuit, with many cars choosing to stay within the innermost lane. However, this also gives a lot of space to draft and get side by side during races, which can lead to some exciting battles. What are you waiting for? Visit LogitechGChallenge.com to enter, and we'll see you on track. So we want to remind you guys as well, that was our intro video for Talladega. Absolutely brilliant voiceover, if I do say so myself. But while we're watching the rest of this qualifying session, we are collecting tweets from you guys all night using the hashtag Logitech G Challenge. Any questions you guys have, or any expressions on who you're rooting for this evening, let us know on Twitter, and we'll pick some of your tweets later on to read out live on air.
We absolutely will. Anyway, as you can see, lots of times have been posted here. Pretty much everybody is done. And Dustin, with only 1 minute left here, we've got 25 drivers out of 30 qualified, which is a great number to have. This could be incredible. And it's Daniel Thomas who takes the spoils then, a 52.319, 3,000ths of a second faster than Holger Kluner. And again, it's just new names at the top end. John, I said that we're going to see a lot of new names today. Indeed, we are seeing that right now.
I don't really mind whether we see old or new names. I just want to see some really cool, really close racing. And traditionally, we've seen some... I think the closest races are almost by default some of the stock car races. It's really cool to see how a car that, for example, is outside the top 3 halfway through a race, Luke, can still find a way to work with their opponents and manage to bring themselves back onto the podium. We've seen a few of those in our time. I'm looking forward to another one tonight, hopefully.
Yeah, as long as you can trust your fellow driver. Again, it's good running side by side, but if someone's a little bit more reckless than maybe yourself, or you're more reckless than them, ultimately that's where contact can happen. And if it's near the front of the grid, ultimately, pretty much everybody's going to get cleaned out by that. So expect, if there's a big one, there's going to be a big one today. I want to have a mention here of Sander Nyhoff, currently in 4th position. Biggest racing achievement was to be in the top split of the Indy 500 on iRacing. So this, to be in the top split of any major event on iRacing is huge. But yeah, it was oval. It was with an Indy car, of course. But yeah, this guy has got some experience and expecting him to be right up there in the front for sure.
Right, so the qualifiers are over. Let's go ahead and take a look at the race conditions. Conveniently, because we're doing this digitally, they're rather favorable. 25-degree ambient temperature, 40-degree track temperature as well. Nice and cloudy with absolutely no breeze to write home about. So pretty much ideal for a lot of these guys to go racing. And we're going to take a look at the grid in a sec, Luke, but I think this is the first time I have ever seen 2 pairs of times as dead heats in a qualifying session. I believe 3rd and 4th have the same time, and I think 7th and 8th as well.
Yeah, even with oval racing, which is obviously it's a lot closer than what you'll get with road racing, it's still pretty rare to see exactly the same time. So that's quite an incredible stat there, John. Well spotted, but it just goes to show how close everybody is. But expect to see for the first time someone charging from maybe the midfield right up to the front today. This is a big opportunity for drivers if they can just keep it clean as a group for people to make moves.
And here we go. Daniel Thomas is indeed going to be starting the front row alongside Kluna, so doing a fantastic job there. And it's Kumalaka and Nyhoff, who I believe have the same time on 3rd and 4th. Malaka, I think, setting his time a little bit sooner. We then have Detweiler lining up alongside Bilaudel on row number 3. Sepulveda and Navarro will line up 7th and 8th. And finally, we've got Srigis and Byler on row 5. But that's only one of 3 screens we have here, Luke, for our contenders.
Absolutely. In P11, and it will be indeed Dave Stedman with Terry Despoir just in 12th position. Marco Iafaldano and Adam Illman round out your 7th row. Antoine Mark and Thomas Cope are on the 8th row. Then we've got Antoine Shinon is in 17th. Then we've got Ivan Kashkin in 18th. Patrick Levinsky and Federico Navia are the top 20.
And then rounding out our grid, we've got Holapa and Stewart, 21st and 22nd respectively. Pedro Poveda will line up alongside Sensi. And then we have Thierry Vossier at the back, last but not least. And hopefully we'll see one of these drivers potentially charge up through the field in today's race.
Absolutely. It's going to be exciting today. Just hopefully it's a nice clean race and we get to see NASCAR in its full form right now. Just a shout out here to I Am Tired, with spelled T-Y-A-D, supporting Dan the Man Thomas, which is always nice to see. So welcome to the chat, welcome to the broadcast, and hopefully everybody watching from home right now, you're going to enjoy what you're watching, and we have a good set of races. We've got 12 races across this whole weekend to go, and well, maybe you guys could be a part of this later on in the year. We've still got 2 more qualifying finals to go this year. Head to logitechgchallenge.com, get signed up. Who knows? Maybe you will be winning and getting that top 3 and making it to our semi-finals later in the year.
I thought that was just a statement from you, and that if you were tired before the first race started, we're going to be in for a very long night, mate. But I can't wait to see whether the drivers in front will actually be able to hold on to their positions and how the drivers behind them are going to work together to overtake. I anticipate this will be both incident-filled and ridiculously tight at the top.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing we've got to be watching out for is drivers working together. So if it does go to single file pretty early, you'll see drivers try and get up onto the top side and try and make moves, but they need people to go with them. So you'll see maybe someone come out from P4 to try and move up towards third, second, and first, but then he'll be hoping that someone else from behind pops out as well, so they can all work together to push forward and potentially get a nice run with big trainer cars, and more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drivers could then end up getting into the lead. So it's all about being aware of that as well from a leader's perspective. You've got to be aware of a big run on your outside or even on your inside, because if you do not react to something like that, you can be caught napping and go to the back of the grid just as quick as you can potentially go up to the front of the grid.
And we've got a 25-lap race here, Luke. Is there any particular downside or upside to being at the front of the pack, just behind the leader? Where do you really want to position yourself strategy-wise?
At the front, mate. It doesn't matter what kind of racing you're doing. You want to be P1. It's as simple as that. It gets a little bit... I think we'll actually... It's a good point you're making there, John. I think what's going to see in the open wheel... I'll explain it a little bit more later on when we get to that part. But in any race, you want to be at the front, ideally.
Sure.
You know, that's where you can control things. That's where you've got your best chance of qualifying for the top 3, or indeed, you know, whatever race you're in, whether it's just about winning, or indeed our format being that top 3. But yeah, I can understand where you're coming from with that. But yeah, that'll be a little bit more explained in the Watkins Glen open wheel, I think.
Looking forward to that race as well. We're about to get underway now in race number 1. Talladega Super Speedway, our first tri-oval here at the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. 25 drivers on the grid for this. It's going to be a lot of fun. Here we go.
Going to be phenomenal here. Pace car indeed does go away here, and we're on for our racing action. So ignore what you see on the left hand side of your screen for the moment. For the first lap, it will be a little bit skew-if, and it won't be the right car numbers and all that good stuff in terms of what positions they're in, but then it will sort itself out and it will be glorious. And here we go, we're off, leader off into the distance then, and it will be indeed Daniel Thomas who gets them away here already. Oh, that's a great start, actually. Already got a couple of car links here. No one really read that situation. But as you can see, then we've got number 57, which is indeed Malika, battling then with the number 68, which is indeed Holger Kluner. They're dragging the 22 along as well here early as well. Sander Nyhoff, who I'm expecting to be right up in and amongst it. And judging from the 3 disciplines we've got in the EMEA region, it is going to be the day of the Dutchies, I think, today from my predictions. But yeah, John, they're already into single file early, which is actually kind of surprised at that. I thought they might be running 2x2 for a little bit longer, but again, they've all gone for the very safe option here. There's no cautions as well, so it's kind of, yeah, make sure it's nice and safe, then you can look to make moves later on in the race.
Completely agreed with you. I thought they were going to run 2x2 as well. We see a little bit closer, but actually they've managed to pack themselves up quite well. We have Nyhoff taking that early 3rd position. I think the number 22 car is in front of Malaka now, and he just got dragged along there by the looks of things. And unfortunately, I think that might mean that Kluner has actually dropped to 4th, but it's early days. Everyone in single file. And as you can see, no one really dropping off the pack yet. So everyone just settling themselves in, looking for opportunities to start getting a bit of drafting going.
This is perfect for the top 3 right now, running single file, by the way, because anyone that tries to make a move from behind them will get hit by a big wall of air, and you just get slowed down straight away. So if you try and make any moves or shakes early in this race, you're kind of done for, unless you can get a group of cars together. So the fact that they've gone single file so early, it's kind of mind-blowing, really. It's, you know, the top 3 are going to be like, yeah, this is fine. We'll stay like this for the rest of the race if you don't mind. But everyone else behind has not really worked hard enough here. But again, I think we'll see a different story when it comes to North America. And like, I would honestly throw it out there to all of the regions to watch the North America stock car races. Try and gain some experience from that moving forward in this championship. It's only going to help your performances. But at the start of this race then, Daniel Thomas, who indeed was pole position, is holding on to that P1 here and doing exactly what he needs to do.
What kind of thoughts must be going through Kluner's head right now? Qualifying on the front row, down to 4th early on, everyone's single file, so he doesn't even have an easy run on the car in front of him. He just has to not let his emotions get the better of him and play the patient long game here, really, doesn't he? Yeah,
for sure. That's all he's got to do. Again, he's in a position where he can control things, and seeing it being single file and behind him this early in the race is just going to be brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Nyhoff there just had a little nibble and look to the outside. The front 3 have kind of got away here. And this could be dangerous here. If Nyhoff, again, you can see how much the cars just close up behind. If Nyhoff just moves out into the clear air, which again, they will have to do as well because oil temperature is a big factor in these cars. You can blow the engine up by just sitting in by the dirty air of a car in front. So you will see them pull out. But you're just got to be careful. The last thing you want to do is pull out and leave a gap opening for the car behind you just to filter in, and then you're stuck. You're stuck on the high side, and you will just fall back. Especially with a 25-car train like this, you will literally stay at the back. And actually, you can see it's starting to go too wide then. It looks like it's going to be George Navarro then, who is starting to make it too wide at the back here. But as you can see, they're just dropping further and further back here. So P8 now, Navarro, has tried to make it too wide, tried to go with another car, and we should see the effect of them two. They will just drop back now. I'm pretty sure there's not enough cars to work with, and they're just going to fall back down that order again. There we go. You can see them on the high side. So now they're down to 9th, 10th position. They've got 2 spots this lap already. And because the whole field's in single file, they will drop right down to the back unless they can find themselves. And there you go. So we're seeing it now. This is perfect now. So the number 8 and the number 21, just keep an eye on those two. So they're trying to work with each other to go all the way around the outside, but they're just going to be slower because there's a big train of cars that are just using each other. So it's so much easier on the low side with, you know, the tow of 47 cars down low, and then when there's just 2 of you trying to work it, you've got to be absolutely perfect with every single line. You're going to be using your tires as well a lot more than what the cars on the low side are going to be doing as well. So it's just really going to be detrimental unless they can get sort of 4 or 5 to go with them. And actually, there we go. So number 3 has decided to move up here, and we are starting to see potentially this race develop nicely. 5 laps in, 20 to go. And yeah, they are starting to work together. It's now 4 cars. There we go. This is a little bit better here, and you might now see the high side become a little bit faster than the low side.
This is really quite fun because we were talking earlier about how at Dega you don't need to use the entire width of the track. Combine that with the fact that if you don't have enough cars on the high side, you can't really make this work. Enough drivers have seen the light now, Luke, that they're going, actually, this has turned from a bad decision from 2 drivers to what could potentially be a good one by 5 or 6.
Yeah, for sure. Again, they're still struggling here because, again, you've got to be perfect. You've got to be absolutely spot on here. And ideally, they want the lead car to be able to, they want to push him. They've got to start pushing him, which actually Henrik Bieler was starting to do. So Bieler was trying to push the number 22, which was in, oh, sorry, it might have been the 32. So Adam Illman, he was trying to push the 32 up towards the lead pack here, or the lead car, and then they can really run side by side. Because if you can get a car up to P1 on the high side, then everybody's going to be 2 by 2, and then it just becomes, it's a tougher race, of course, because you've got to be a bit more careful with your spatial awareness, but ultimately you're going to be going exactly the same sort of pace as the leaders. But right now, again, they are hung out to dry on the high side, but they're not losing too much time. And the fact is that actually they start sort of around P5, P6, whereas when they started to go as a group, they're around about P8, P9.
Let's take a look at some of these cars in a bit more detail now. We can see the high side train of cars still there. They're not really making up much ground, but the good news is they're not completely dropping away either. They're doing their best to sort of hang alongside. Can they keep this going for much of the rest of the race, Luke, or are we running the risk maybe of them running out of tires, perhaps because there's more road to cover and there just aren't enough cars? I'm not sure. Let's take a look now. This is Jorge Navarro. And we've got some of the stats as well. Started in 8th place. Our data-driven insights powered by Splunk. A 50.229 has just been set by the number 8 car.
Yeah, it's nice to see some stats there. It's always good to have stats and statistics, as you can see. It looks like a couple of cars have decided to drop off the pace or drop off the group in terms of on the outside, but they're still hanging there nicely, side drafting their way up towards the front. They're not losing too much ground. Again, around about P6, 7 for the lead car on the right side. You can see now the train on the outside are a little bit quicker in terms of the straight line speed down the back straight here. But again, you'll see on corner entry, they'll lose a little bit of time, and then they'll be on exit as well, because they've got a little bit more banking to work with on the exit of the corner. But again, they're not losing too much time here. And this is good. This is good for them right now. I thought that they might really struggle. I thought they might drop right down the back of the order, considering how these races usually go, but they've done a pretty stellar job. Now it's down to 3, though. They are going to start to struggle a little bit more, and I'm actually going to be very surprised here we don't potentially see Cluner try and filter in that gap there. The number 32 and the number 97, but it looks like he's just about ahead of the number 97 now, or the gap's just closed up here. So, yeah, not quite going to work out there. So we're on board with the middle car of that group of 3 on the outside. That's Adam Illman. And again, they're going to start to push each other here, which the group of cars on the inside line can't really do, because there's sort of 8, 9, 10 cars. You can't really push anyone, because ultimately it's going to have a huge effect, and there's going to be a huge crash. But with 3 of you, it's a little bit more manageable. So, yeah, I'm expecting to see the number 3 car potentially start to push. And then again, they're going to gain more speed by indeed pushing each other towards that front.
Still just a 10th between the top 5 cars. So no one really breaking formation at the moment. This second lot of cars on the high side, not really making too much progress forward, but at the same time also not moving backwards. It's interesting to see the ebb and flow between the straights and the banking here, Luke. They just lose a tiny bit of ground in the corners and then make that up a little bit more on the straights. It's like a gamble that's taking 10 or 12 laps to actually pay off here. But it looks like the number 32 car has managed to gain a car length or 2 in the last lap.
Well, Illman pulled out from the inside line, so he's made the group 4. He's gone into the lead of the high side group, and actually he was behind the number 97. So right now he could just filter in that little gap there, although it is indeed closed now, and he could have gained a position, but actually he's decided, I think for the long haul, He's going to go top side. And now you can see one mistake from the high side, and they will be in some serious trouble here. So you'll see, because of the gaps on the inside there, a car will get scared. You've got to stick to your guns and work together here as that group on the outside. But ultimately, if a letterbox opens and there's an opportunity to just go down the low side and someone gets scared, it can kill the whole group momentum. So you just got to really trust that your fellow drivers are going to stick with this idea and potentially push forward. But actually, as you can see, the 97 really is the reference for the number 32 car, and the 97 now is a couple of car lengths ahead.
Taking a look at one of the cars now in the lead pack. Not quite at the front of it yet, but doing a tremendous job, actually. Marco Iafaldano, number 97 car. You can see there, more data-driven insights powered by Splunk. But the important one you need to see on that lower third is the fact that he started in 13th. So 13th to 5th so far, and we're just shy of the halfway point of this race. Marco's doing a tremendous job, Luke.
Yeah, we've seen Iafaldano every single round so far in terms of the street finals, so we know he's got pedigree to keep qualifying at this level. This has been the hardest month to qualify as well, and he's one of very few names that we've seen more than once. You know, there's maybe 5 or 6 names we could say that we've seen more than once so far. So yeah, fantastic job from him. And I tell you what, I think Ilman's going to probably try and filter in here. That high side group, they are not going quickly now at all. So Ilman, who is the lead of that group of 4, I think he's going to probably try and find himself a little opening here and get down low as soon as he possibly can. And he hasn't as of yet. The door is still open though. And has he filtered in? Well, no, he's still sticking to his guns here. Still wants to try and indeed hold on to that high side, but they're just getting killed now, really, in terms of time. We're on board with the second group of cars now, and really, with what, 5 cars to work with, these have 0 chance unless there's a big one. Unless there's a big crash, they've got 0 chance right now. Across the line we go then to start lap number 13. Still the lead for Dan Thomas. Again, qualified really well up at the front end. Got a great start. And, you know, like I said, it's pretty much the position you want to be in, John. You've got to manage from the front of the grid here, especially as it went single file so quickly. But all of a sudden then, the high side, oh, this could be a big one. It is going to be a big one. That's going to now take it down to 7 cars at the front, I think. How many people were involved in that? That's a huge, huge mistake there. It's 7 cars yet, and I think you'll find now that Ilman's going to be hung out to dry then. So now they know there's not so many cars in that lead group. Ilman, he was the guy that tried to help them. He went up to the front unselfishly, and now he's going to try and get onto the back of this group here. I'm just not too sure if he's going to have the momentum. So watch out for Ilman. Right now, the back of the group, has he managed to tag onto the back quick enough? He would have lost so much momentum on the high side. And you can see there's a bit of a gap then from the front 8 cars now. Is it an 8-car group? It's 9, so it was 8, and then Ilman is at 9th. And I think he's just about got away with it here.
Let's go ahead and take a look at what actually happened there. This is your first Quantum Pay replay of the evening. Big moment for one of the cars here. Who was it? Let's find out. Number 26.
26 has dipped his... Oh, it's a big one. Yeah, he's dipped the left wheels then on the apron. And actually, I don't think that's the incident. I think that's from the group behind. Yeah, I don't think that's the incident we were looking at. I think that's from the group behind. So yeah, I'm sure we'll see the replay of what happened with the lead group soon enough. But the good news though for Ilman is the fact that he is still at the back of this pack here. So he unselfishly pulled out in front of the 3 cars on the high side earlier on in this race to go, look, us 4 can work together, try and get to the front. And as soon as the other 3 got an opportunity to get back into the pack, they just went, nah, off you go, Ilman, we don't need you anymore, and dropped back into the pack here. You can see, again, someone who was that trying to make a move there? I think it was the number 82, so that was Detweiler, was trying to go up high there, just to see if anyone behind him wanted to go as well. It's a bit more manageable now, so if they've got a group of 4v5, this could be very interesting, and yes, they do. So 4 cars now go on the high side, and now we are going to see some proper side-by-side action. Ilman's got to be careful now, though. Needs to just try and just get onto the back of the pack here. Again, he's close enough to be working it nicely. And there we go. We have indeed got Detweiler, who's currently P7. And now it is 3 versus 6, effectively, for the last 10 laps of this race. Battling for that top 3 position, John.
You're absolutely correct, by the way, about the replay. That was Vossier crashing out of the second group of cars. The lead car in that group was Duncan Stewart, the number 16 car, who was currently in 15th place. Did we just also see a little bit of a wobble or a bit of contact here? Not 100% sure what happened there, Luke. That was a bit of a wobble.
It was a bit of a wobble there, and it looks like it is indeed the 82. Luckily, going to get back onto the pack there, but it's going to go single file once again. And yeah, not ideal there, John. Not ideal there at all.
I think we've got a replay of the second incident that we saw on camera early on. Let's go ahead and take a look what happened here. This is a Quantum Pay replay. Hashtag make your move. And speaking of making your move, that was definitely, I think that was a mistake by car 77. I don't feel like he was nudged from behind there, Luke, but maybe you can correct me.
No, it's just, again, the camber lasts a long time on the exit of corners here. And especially with the tri-oval section as well, like you just cannot go below that yellow line. There's certain circuits where you can cut that yellow line, no problem. But ultimately, that is what caused the spin. It looked like from the camera angle we had, it was going to be catastrophic for a lot of cars. Turns out there's only one other car that was involved there. So good control for that to indeed not be a huge shunt. But ultimately, we are now down to 6 at the front here. And, well, 3 cars have just been dropped off of the front 6. As we cross the line, we'll see exactly what's going on. Illman again, trying to get something going around the outside, and he's going to potentially get the 97. So now he's going to just look how much momentum he loses there. He's on the high side, he's got no slipstream to work with, and he just has to filter in. As soon as the camber starts to end here, he will move down left. He will just get back into that slipstream, but it just takes a while for him to get back up to speed. So unless someone's behind him, he can now only really go high side if someone in front of him goes. So he made a bit of a mistake there by going on his own. He's got no one behind him. He now needs to just make this a 6-horse race, if you like, because the car, or was it 6 or 7? I can't count at this stage. I think it's 6 at the front here. But as it stands, the 3 cars behind, they're gone. As soon as you lose slipstream, as soon as you lose a toe, you are gone. So again, Illman just needs to be careful. It becomes 6 then, battling for the top 3 positions in this race. And this is now, 7 laps to go. You've got to find someone to work with here. 2 cars will be enough, I think. Thomas still leads the way, though, by the way. Malika, Nyhoff, they front 3. Bilaudal, IFL Dano, and Illman. That is your top 6 as it stands. IFL Dano has had so much misfortune. Can he potentially finally get that top 3 position at the 3rd time of asking? And as you can see here again, Illman's trying to get something going, but it just isn't. You just can't work on your own here. You just get a big wall of air hit the front of your car because it's not being broken by another car, and ultimately you're done for. And 3 cars behind, already nearly 2 seconds behind, and they're really hoping for these all go across the line sideways. Effectively, they have a big crash on the last lap for them to have a chance to be in that top 3.
Do you think this might be Illman's way of asking IFL Dano, hey, do you want to go topside with me and actually try and make a move on the first 4 cars here? Or is this Illman trying to he must be sending a message to the cars in front by doing this, right?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely 100% there. You're spot on. But again, IFL Dano just doesn't want to do it.
It's not interested.
With only 5 laps to go here, you kind of got to start to get the moves on, because it's not a case of, if you go with another driver here, or even 3 drivers, it's not a case of you're going to get it done in 1 lap. Because also, it's not, if you're working with another driver, you're both pushing to the front. So it's not just you. So ultimately, you're going to get to a point where you're going to have to battle them at some point as well. So you're effectively splitting the race up to sort of 3 different kind of races for the final few laps. It becomes really, really, really tough. So as it stands, actually, you can see here, the 3 behind have worked something out magically, because they are catching up. That is so rare to see. That actually, the 3 cars behind is going to be a 9-car race for the top 3 here. Those 3 are absolutely flying, and now you're going to see those 3 close up to the back of the pack here, and you might see them go up to the high side here and instantly just try and make this work. And that is Illman's opportunity. If he catches this perfectly here, he will then just pull out behind them. Does not want to pull out in front of them. He doesn't want to slow their momentum down. It doesn't matter. They're going to have to go all the way around the outside. I think he might have just killed their momentum, and that was his opportunity. If he could have just let them 3 go by, then sit on the back of them 3, he could have pushed all the way to the front. It's not worked out. He slowed their momentum down here, unfortunately. And ultimately, then, it's going to be still the same 5 at the front end.
Oh, and there isn't actually a gap for him to filter back into as well. So that's Illman losing a couple of places. Now needs to tack back onto the end of that again. Illman's been trying so hard all race long. It's been so clear from us watching from the observer angle, but maybe this is a little bit of a symptom of trying just a little too hard.
That's all on him. That's all on him there. He had the opportunity to let those 3, because they were absolutely, they're going at a rate of knots right now. They were flying. Henrik Bieler's the lead car of this. Again, he's been in the Coke Series, one of the most prestigious series in sim racing as a whole, let alone just in oval. But you see Illman has just dropped onto the back here. This could have been done. They could have been near the front here if he had let them go. He slowed their momentum down by pulling out. I just don't understand what he was trying to achieve there, if I'm completely honest. Maybe a lack of experience, I guess, but it might still work out here. And he's just trying to use both groups at this stage. He's got to close up here so no one can filter down low. And just really, that's only going to move you backwards, effectively. unless he can now move up to second spot in that group on the high side. I just don't think it's on. I just think it's a little bit too little too late. Love to be proved wrong here, but as you can see now, it looks like Bieler and the number 68 then of Kluna, they are both now going to be completely hung out to dry. Get to the back of the queue, it's not going to work out for you. So right now, Thomas, Malaka, and indeed Nijhoff, who've been P1, P2, P3 for pretty much the entirety of this race. Nijhoff doing the hard work early on. They are still the top three. Illman, though, he's just trying to do it on his own. Basically, he's been given carrots to work with other people in this race multiple times, and he's just tried to do it on his own every single time. And ultimately, he's now going to drop to the back here. Look how quickly he drops to the back.
I think that's basically summing it up in a word. You have to, if anyone wanted to watch a race and go, why is it so important to work with other cars in stock racing? I would direct them to this VOD and say, watch this race, because this is almost a textbook example of Illman doing a lot of arguably cool racing maneuvers. You can see what he's trying to accomplish. It just doesn't work without the input of other drivers alongside you.
Yeah, I'm not the most experienced oval commentator as well. So this is actually, like, for me personally, this is perfect because this is a visual representation of how you learn how to commentate on it and sim race yourself. This is what I've been looking at in my research for the last 6 months. It's just playing out exactly how it's written in the book, the big book that doesn't exist. As they say, oh, that's a textbook move. Where's the textbook? There isn't one. Front five now, 2 laps to go. And well, this is going to go down to the wire. I think you're going to see now the 76 has to pull out here. Bilaldo and IFL Dano, they both now have to make some moves here. The front three, they don't have to do anything right now. The 22 may want to get a bit of insurance here and try and go around the outside. But being in P3 right now, he will move. As soon as the car behind him tries to go up high, he will be gone. He'll be up high side as well. He'll be hoped to then be pushed along. And actually, he'll hope that P1 and P2 get completely mugged off by being pushed around the outside. But actually, here we go then. As we head then towards the final lap, we are on the final lap here. And there is a little bit of a move around the outside. Again, Illman trying to maneuver himself into a position to challenge here. But again, it's really the favourites are the front four. And again, it's all on the car 22 here. P3, keep an eye on that car 22. Because as soon as any potential move's going to be made behind him, he will check up the high side. And he'll look to win this race by being pushed over the line by a car from behind. As it stands, though, the front three are just doing what they need to do. They are indeed bump drafting each other. And the 76, can he potentially spring a surprise here? That is the question here. Is it going to be the front three that have been there all race? Or are we going to potentially see that number 76 make the move? Again, as soon as he will pull out into that dirty air, he will indeed lose some time. And across the line we will come then. It's just not going to work out. No one was able to get anything done there, but it will be Thomas, Malaka and Nijhoff who did get the front three. Bilaldo, he was hoping that a group of cars were going to take the high side, push him along as well, but ultimately just never really materialized. And yeah, if there's a lesson to be learned from this race, it really is. You've got to work together with your fellow driver, and ultimately if you don't, then the front three will stay the front three for the entire race, and they're not really going to be challenged at all.
So Daniel Thomas, your race winner there, 49.4 fastest lap, absolutely textbook. Or hypothetical textbook. It's 2021. We don't write them down in books anymore. They're all VODs on YouTube. But what a great race there, and a really instructional race for some of the cars behind as well, just really getting to see the difference. Not just us as commentators or the drivers, but you viewers at home really get to see the difference between what it's like to work with a bunch of other cars, to try and get some sort of advantage, try and wrangle your way around some of the drivers ahead of you, and what happens when no one else wants to play ball and you have to go at it alone. I think Illman crossed the line, making a bit of contact with someone as well. Fortunately, he was literally crossing the finish line. Very interesting middle of the race there.
That's not contact, John, not NASCAR. They need to be up on their roof if it's called contact. That just goes to show, though, the differences in circuits. A lot of people will look at oval racing and go, oh, it's just turning left. But every single circuit is so different. It's so difficult. If you've never tried oval racing, genuinely, it will open your eyes as to how difficult it can be. But yeah, I just think that everybody needs to keep an eye on North America and kind of learn some little tips and tricks from them, because they do it pretty much on a daily basis, and they are well ahead of the game, that's for sure. But ultimately, the front three there, they didn't put a foot wrong. They let everyone else make mistakes behind them by not working together, and they took away the top 3 spots.
That lead pack really demonstrated that actually we're just going to sit here, work together. You can do all sorts of stuff behind. It doesn't matter. We're just going to bring home the victory. Let's now take a look at our final results for the stock car race, sponsored by Splunk. Daniel Thomas, we've got Kumalaka and Nyhoff will take the top 3 positions, and they get a ticket directly to the semi-finals from the Logitech G Challenge. Behind them, we have Balaudel, IFL Dano, Detweiler, Illman, Bieler, Kluner, and Navarro. Kluner starting second place on the grid and unfortunately not really paying off for him in that particular race, but still finishing in the top 10 with a decent number of points.
Yeah, next 10 then is indeed Sepulveda finishing in the 11th spot, but they've got Antoine Mark, Erpo Holapa in 13th, Federico Navia in 14th position, and Duncan Stewart and Pedro Poveda, Ivan Kashkin, Patrick Klavinsky, Antoine Shinon, and then Fame Sensi.
And then moving to our final page, but admittedly still getting valuable points. We have Thomas Cope, Simon Strigas, Dave Stedman, Thierry Vossier, who we saw spin out early in the race, and Terry Despoir, who unfortunately did so earlier on the same lap. But great race. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the highlights and how that race unfolded.
Yeah, always good to look at some highlights here as we get the race start. And Dan the man, well, did what he needed to do, just drove away here. And as you can see, very early in the race, the front 3 are in exactly the same order as what we saw near the end of the race. Illman trying to get something going, but ultimately was kind of killed his own race, really. Unfortunately, in the end, 26 there getting absolutely sent. And, well, those two won't be racing again today, that's for sure. The number 145, they're just mowing the lawn as well. And then we saw the number 77 get involved with a 64, and it's just a little bit of a tank slapper, grabbed a little bit of the apron, and unfortunately that will be race over both of those as well. But again, not a big one, no, not a real huge one where more than sort of 5 or 6 cars were indeed involved. And again, here's Illman. This kind of was the story of his race, really. Tried to make something work on the outside, but he kind of did it on his own most of the time, and that would have cost him the chance to getting up towards that top 3. Top 3 though, they did what they needed to do, and they managed to get themselves across the line, and they managed to get themselves into our semi-finals. So good performance from them. But yeah, a lot of lessons to be learnt there for sure. And again, we've still got 2 more opportunities to qualify for our semi-finals, John. So anyone that's just outside that top 3, they can look at this and go, right, I know what to do next time, I'm golden.
Still plenty of opportunity, like Luke said, to go ahead and get your own lap time in for the future stock car races. Go to logitechgchallenge.com and you will be in with a shot of hopefully making it to one of these broadcasts if you're fast enough qualifying for next month's track. In the meantime, we just want to say a massive thank you to Splunk, to Logitech G, Quantum Pay, and McLaren for helping us put all of this together. Coming up next, it's the Dallara IR01s, because we're moving on to the open wheel race on Watkins Glen. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back to the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. I'm John Sargent alongside Luke Crane. We want to remind you guys as well, we're still collecting tweets from you using the hashtag Logitech G Challenge. Send us your questions. Let us know who you're cheering for. Let us know what you think about the stream, about the driving, all sorts of stuff. Ping us there and we will read out some of your tweets later on in the broadcast.
And let us know what your favorite snacks are as well, because I like snacks.
Oh, mate, I would answer that question all night. Like, if you want to ask any questions about food, I'm a man of the world. Culinarily.
We're probably the best duo ever to answer that as well, to discuss it.
Yes, we need to host our own cooking show on Twitch.
We found our calling, just eating.
We just want to remind you guys, by the way, this is the open wheel section of our competition, and these open wheel cars, the Delaware IRO ones, are going to be racing around Watkins Glen. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic race. But if you either haven't seen this track before or you're kind of familiar with it and want to get better, well, we've got a little bit of a tips and tricks video here on Watkins Glen as well to take you through a little bit of the lap so that you can have a flavor of what it's like. Take a look. Nicknamed the Glen, Watkins Glen International Racetrack is well known as the home of the Formula One United States Grand Prix for 20 consecutive years. Let's get stuck in. Turn 1 allows drivers to be a little bit greedy because of a very wide exit, but it's easy to accidentally take too much, so be careful. You can take part of the inside curb, but taking the whole thing might unsettle the car and cause unnecessary understeer. The S's at turns 3 and 4 are a critical point in your lap to get your lines right and maintain maximum speed. The barriers are extremely close to the track. It's surprisingly tight and there's no room for error. Get this right though, and you will have a speed boost all the way down the back straight. The loop coming off the back straight is the first in a series of corners that get progressively tighter through the chute and then the toe. So you will need to manage your speed and adjust appropriately for each successive turn. The toe and heel corners, unsurprisingly, make up the boot, a hammerhead-shaped up and downhill section of the track added in 1971. Getting a smooth run round each corner will be your aim to get the most out of this technical section of the lap. So, what are you waiting for? Visit LogitechGChallenge.com to enter, and we'll see you on the track. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. We are now thick into qualifying. Several minutes have already elapsed. Drivers will have 10 minutes to try and post their lap times. A lot going on track at the moment as people try and jostle for a bit of a banker lap before they come back for more. And no doubt, with a lot of different sort of micro surfaces here at Watkins Glen, there's going to be different sections of the lap where the limit is sort of further or closer than some of these drivers might think, Luke. I imagine it takes some getting used to.
Yeah, I did around about 10 laps to sort of get used to this car on the track, really, because I wanted to see what it was like, and it was so fun. It was one of the most fun experiences I've had with iRacing, actually. It's just a perfect combination. It's just so fast. But earlier on, you mentioned about how, is it better to be in the lead? Is it better to be, a little bit further behind in terms of the race? This here, it is better to be in second position on the final lap. We're actually going along the straight part of the circuit now, which is key for this theory. You need to be behind here because the slipstream in this car is absolutely massive. There's no chicane at the top here as well. So we're actually on board with Jose Soria, who was the fastest qualifier for the week. But yeah, if you are in second position coming up through the S's and then along that back straight, you can get into the lead. And then we come through, again, the very tight section here. And then we come up towards heel toe, as you said earlier in your little voiceover, John. And again, it's probably best to be ahead out of that corner. But ultimately, this is the last opportunity for someone who's in second position on the final lap to make a run towards this right-hander. So again, it's sometimes better to be second around this lap as we come then through this left-hander here. Again, it's just about getting on the power early, opening up the corners as best you possibly can, especially during qualifying. It's almost like you've got to be prepared to run off the circuit completely and completely butcher your lap here. Again, just about dabbing the brakes there, no drop of a gear. It is maximizing your speed over the line. Such a frenetic lap here. Hopefully we're going to see another lap here from Soria, actually. Here we go then. So we dropped just one gear through turn number 1, run out nice and wide then over that curve. You can run so far wide through there. Up through the S as we come. So easy to turn in too early for this left-hander here and hit that curve and send yourself into the wall. And then we've got the big long straight here before we head down in towards the loop. And again, if you are behind someone, maybe 10 car lengths back, you can still get ahead of them. The toe is so huge in this car. Through this right-hander, again, it's just one drop of a gear, a little bit of a dab in the brakes. You're not braking hardly at all with this car. You're just using the aerodynamics of it to get the car turned. Open up this corner nicely, then grab as much curve on the inside as you dare, and run out nice and wide then through that left-hander. And again, this is uphill, so you can brake a little bit later than you might think when you first get involved with this car, but it's all about getting on that power midway through the corner. As soon as you start leaving that apex, you've got to get that power down. And then this is the hardest corner, or the hardest 2 corners for me around this circuit, because the curb, you can't really use it because it's so raised and it's so minimal. You can use it on the exit, but then trying to find your braking point for this uphill right-hander and then getting on the power early is so difficult. The rear will snap out. We just saw there with Soria. He managed to slide on the exit of the corner, but ultimately that is where you can lose or gain the most amount of time. Through this right-hander again, there's no drop of gear there. It is just about a little bit of a dab on the brakes, maybe a let off of the gas, hit the apex, then run out onto that big wide curve on the exit. And Soria, well, he's just put in a 16.740. That is going to be your fastest time of the day. Having Tamas Simon Lemonac as well, Matska as your top 4. Oh boy, this is going to be absolutely incredible.
Familiar name there in 17th as well. Adam Illman has made his way into this final as well. So multi-talented, a lot of these drivers in multiple racing disciplines. It takes quite a lot to get used to them. We've got different disciplines across different games as well, because Assetto Corsa is to come. And very impressive, some of these drivers managing to make it into the points positions for multiple games here. But right now, really nice to be on board with the lap that ended up being on pole position. The question on our lips with 2 minutes left to go in the qualifier is, will that time stand? Oh, never mind. Lemonek's already beaten it. My God.
Yeah, Lemonac is currently P1, Kevin van der Slik P7. They're actually teammates. So they would have ideally wanted to be quite close to each other on the circuit and maybe work together here, but that's not going to be the case. So Kevin van der Slik has not qualified well here. He did self-claimed that he didn't qualify well last time. He's done the same here. He's a lot faster than that, that's for sure. Now he's going to have to fight through the pack, which around this circuit, there's some opportunities to make overtakes, so it's not going to be all lost. But it's all about making sure you keep yourself out of trouble. We've seen a lot of people in this particular car, especially off the start line, John, that just not able to get that power down without the car losing complete control. So first couple of laps are going to be vital here for all of the drivers.
Well, look, if it's potentially possible to be in second place and just wait on the final lap for your opportunity to pounce before the finish line, those overtaking opportunities are possible. In fact, we might even see some Adam Illman style overtaking here. Would actually serve them quite well, to be fair. Less so in the stock car, but if we saw something similar here in the open wheel, I'd be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, this is it's a whole different challenge, a completely different challenge. Although NASCAR do run here, which is quite. If you've ever watched NASCAR around here, it is quite phenomenal. They don't run the same layout as what you're seeing right now because there's no such thing as white lines to the NASCAR drivers. They drive off to exits of corners and make their own lines effectively. But yeah, it's that's the only similarities really. We're going to see something completely different this time around.
So here are the track conditions for our Watkins Glen race, with qualifiers now being over. Very similar to what we saw in our first stock car race as well. So a rough 26-degree ambient temperature and just a shade under 46 degrees on track. And it's going to be cloudy with a minimal breeze. So all very relaxed for a lot of these drivers here. First of all, I quite like that we can sort of dictate the weather conditions online in a way that we can't in real life. But I wonder if, what would you say to such a fast-flowing racetrack if the weather was rainy, Luke? That would be quite something to watch.
Well, thankfully, they've not got to worry about that because iRacing doesn't currently have rain. So they're all good in that regard.
One day.
But that is coming at the end of this year, potentially at the end of the year. It has been announced. So, yeah, they will have to contend with that at some point. We will have to contend with that at some point because I'm super excited for the endurance events that have weather in it.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
But yeah, again, if it was raining, it would be a whole different challenge. These cars wouldn't like that particularly. Very similar to like Formula One. Formula One cars aren't built for rain racing. They're built to be on the absolute limit of the car. So yeah, it's not ideal. But again, we don't have to worry about that. They're going to be in nice dry weather here, and they're going to be able to go as fast as they want.
Well, now we know the grid, Luke. Who should we be keeping an eye on here? I mean, Lemonek, of course, managing to creep in on pole position for something like less than 200ths of a second. So it feels like this is going to be very close.
Yeah, Julian Bachmann for sure is someone to watch out for in P9. Van der Slick for sure is in P7. Matska is someone that is relatively new to the top end of sim racing, but he is phenomenal. So I expect to see him. But Lemonek, Soria, and Simon, those three are three of the very best in the world. Not just in this competition, in the world with this specific car. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this goes down. And actually, round one of their official championship was here last week. So they have got plenty of experience here as well.
Being able to race twice on the same racetrack must be so useful for some of these drivers, and no doubt throughout the race. Then they know they're not going to all be focused on just getting it all done on lap one. Balog and Stang will make up row 6 of your grid, just ahead of Irvine and Espes. We then have Matthew Crisp in 15th place, with David van der Waals alongside, Adam Illman in 17th, and Julian Blanchet going to be rounding out our 18 drivers for this particular race. Most of them are on the grid now. They're just getting ready. There's always one, Luke, always one that we're going to be waiting for. But 18 drivers on this grid, very fast, very flowing, reasonable opportunities to overtake, means that small mistakes could lead to big crashes. Yeah,
for sure. With only 18 drivers on the grid and with the level of experience here, I'd be very surprised if we're going to see a huge one. But who knows? You know, you just want them to get through lap one, number one, get their tyres into a decent range as well. Tyres will be pretty much dead after about 4 laps as well. So it's about managing that tyre wear. That is a huge factor. 20 minutes is quite a long race for this car and these tyres. Here we go. We're about to go green light racing. We're about to get ready to rock and roll. All drivers are indeed on the grid. And wow, we've got 20 minutes of action here. 15 laps exactly. Who is going to come out on top? You can hear the revving of the engine. There's the green, green, green. And the front three have got away in tandem there. It's a beautiful bit of driving from all of them. Thomas Simon already making a move there for P2. Almost contact between them as they come out through turn number 1 and exit. There is some contact a little bit further back, and actually looks like they're all just about getting through there nicely. As I've just stood up in excitement here, as if I'm actually at the racetrack, as I tend to do. And Lemonek has got a fantastic start here, but you're already going to see the slipstreaming coming down then towards this downhill right-hander. But Lemonek is just about going to hold on. No, he's not. Around the outside, then we will go. And it is going to be too wide here. And again, you've got to be careful. It's a 15-lap race. It's not the longest race. And P2, P3, P5 are all out, ladies and gentlemen. That is the big one. They got really close to each other. And ultimately, that is not what you want to be doing here. You've got to be able to preserve the race. And, well, you can't win with 3 wheels.
Absolutely not. That was a humongous... I think, I could be wrong, is that Soria and Lemonek currently first and second? I'm not 100% sure. I'm looking at the color of the car at the moment, but that was absolutely huge. Beyond that, let's go ahead and take a look at our Quantum Pay replay for exactly what went down there, Luke. So important to the outcome of this race.
Yeah, there was going to be a big one at some point here, and it just... What happens then? It's P4 that just runs out a little bit wide. Yeah, it's the yellow car. So again, I'm not too sure who that is exactly. But Thomas Simon is the red car that's being completely cleaned out. And then we've got a white and blue one. Again, not too sure who that is as it stands. But right now, was it Van der Slick? Well, no, we'll find out as they cross the line. Van der Slick still P7. I think they've all crossed the line now. So Soria, Bill now is into P3. Charlie Summers in P4. Bachmann up from 9th to 5th. Thomas Copeland, Kevin Van der Slick, then are your top 7 as it stands.
Well, things really getting shaken up there, and there we go. It's Andreas Henkel, Thomas Simon getting taken out there, as you pointed out in the replay there, and Tim Matska.
It was Matska, so Matska's run wide. Matska's run wide into Thomas Simon. Simon then goes straight across the front wing of Matska, and then Henkel's got nowhere to go, so that is exactly what's gone down there. Yeah, very, very unfortunate. That's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. There's certainly one driver that's not going to care 2 hoots about that, and that is indeed Jose Soria, out in the lead now by half a second. And he's able to now manage this race. Lemonek, one of the, again, very best out there in terms of this car, is in a great position right now in P2. But then the group of cars behind us, about 6 or 7, all battling for that final qualifying position here. So all is not lost for that second group of cars, but right now, Jose Soria, fastest qualifier, is looking absolutely bulletproof right now.
Lemonec here starting to gap third place as well. It's a bit difficult to really gauge at this stage of the race how much of that gap was down to the incident we saw earlier and how much of it is him lapping faster, but it's a good second and a bit at the moment. And if him and Soria can gap the rest of the field like this, there's very little incentive with the top three going through directly to the semifinals for him to even challenge Soria. So the question for me is going to be, are Bill and Summers going to be able to move up and challenge again for these top two positions, forcing them to think about trying to get a bit more of a buffer?
Van der Slik trying to make a move here for P4. We just saw the light blue car then pull out and try and make a move. And well, he's gone from 7th up to 5th on the previous lap, and now looking up to be into P4 as we are on board then with our third position as it stands. So third spot then for Charlie Summers. Soria and Lemonec have got away here because of the accident. Definitely because of the accident, John. Like, slipstreaming so strong here that it's so easy to keep tabs near the front end of the grid. As we are on board here with, what's that, the number 8 there? That yellow on pink background is not great. Unfortunately, is it 3 or 8? It's one of the two. I don't know what's going on.
It could be Bill and Van der Slik, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll keep an eye because that is a cyan car next to a pink one after all, so it could actually be them. Still staying within touching distance of each other as they cross the start-finish line, trying to break the toe there momentarily and having none of it. A lot of curb taken on the inside there, actually, by the car in front. So we might get a little bit of an opportunity to get a nose back in and take a look at how unbelievably quickly a tiny mistake leads to this gap closing on the straight.
Yeah, 100%. I believe we're actually on board here with Cedric Bill, who's in behind Shabolt Balog. So they've dropped down a little bit further behind the group of the top 4. But as you can see, then they're just kind of working together here. They just need to. They don't need to be going side by side through there. That's for sure. So fair play there to Shabolt. He did pull out of that potential move, but they've just got to basically leapfrog their way towards the lead group. And were these drivers involved in that big smash at the start? I don't know. I guess we'll find out in terms of their damage because they are dropping back quite significantly. But yeah, as it stands, then it is Kevin Van der Slik who is closing up to P3. So that'll be an interesting battle to see over the next coming laps. But with no slipstream really for Van der Slik, it's going to take a few laps for him to indeed get back up towards that top 3.
It's a little difficult to gauge whether or not the cars have sustained damage in that crash because they're driving offline, defending so much that it's a tad difficult to actually work out how much of it is damage and how much of it is them just trying to get past each other and onto a clean bit of track. We are now on board with Shabolt Balog, started in 11th place and is currently sat just behind Cedric Bill. So an absolutely fantastic race so far. And there you can see in your data-driven insights powered by Splunk, a 117.166, lining him up now. Can he make it stick by the end of the straight? Oh, he's got there and change.
Yeah, Cedric Bill. What is Cedric Bill doing? I have no idea why he's trying to keep this position around the outside. He's just slowing each other down here hugely. Yeah, fair play. Don't get me wrong. It's outstanding defense from him to have the belief that he's going to be able to hold the track there. But they would have lost so much time to the group in front. And maybe they're just thinking about their race now and want to put on a show for us, which I'm absolutely thankful for. But in terms of battling for that top 3, unless there's a bit of an accident in front, it becomes very, very difficult for them to organically catch up now.
Yeah, you're completely right. I mean, take a look at that gap. It's about 3 seconds now between Cedric Bill and Kevin Van der Slik. So Shabolt's very, very eager to get past as quickly as possible. Fair play to Cedric Bill, though. A lovely bit of defensive driving around the outside. I honestly thought Balog had that in the bag. And when I saw that pink car in the peripheral vision, I looked at it and went, that's not even alongside. That's still ahead. Impressive bit of driving.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal bit of driving, actually. But again, it's just it's going to have a detrimental effect on their result. They're all running exactly the same setup as well, so they'll be exactly the same speed in the straight line. But yeah, as soon as he hit that wall of air, the Dallara just decided it wasn't overly quick, not able to indeed hold on to that momentum. And that gave the opportunity then for Cedric Bill to just retake the position. We're going to see it once again then. So this is going to be round 2 of this battle. And yeah, Shabolt Balog is going to take the inside line through the right-hander again. And Cedric Bill is going to be like, nope, not today, sir. 2 laps in a row, costing him even more time to the group up in front. And the beauty of this is that Kevin Van der Slik, who's currently 4th, he is going to be pretty happy with this gap just increasing behind him, which means he can take his time in making the overtake ahead. If he had sort of 3, 4, 5 drivers in behind him, really, really close, Van der Slik would have to force the move as early as possible. But right now, he can just size up Charlie Summers, figure out where he's going slower than him and where he can make the move, and he can take his time with it.
Beginning to wonder if heading down that back straight before you get into the boot, whether that outside line is actually legitimate in the sense that you lose minimal amounts of time. Maybe you can actually keep a bit more speed going through that corner than we previously realized. And Bill is showing us exactly how to use that to your advantage if there's pressure from behind. I don't know. Taking a very, very deep run there. I think we're following the cars just in front. But both of them staying within very close proximity to each other. On board with Van der Slik now, looking like he's closing up, and this could be a move.
This could be a move indeed here, but again, Van der Slik leaning on his experience, and that's the difference right now. He's not trying to make the move here early, and as you said earlier, is it better to be just behind the driver? Yeah, it is around here. If he can be behind on lap number 15 in this exact same position, you will see him make that move. But as it stands right now, he will just sit there patiently. Realizes that the group behind him, he'll have a relative on his screen as well, just to let him know that the group behind are not catching him, which means he doesn't have to force anything. He knows the top 3 qualify for our semi-finals. He doesn't have to worry about trying to catch up to the front 2 as well. It's just the nature of how this competition's run. So right now, Kevin Van der Slik really is just showing his experience, really just taking his foot off the gas, if you like, ever so slightly, and just managing that gap there. And nearly, what, 4.5 seconds clear of the group behind, and it doesn't matter what sort of slipstream you have. You can have all the slipstream in the world. You're not catching up 4.5 seconds in around about 7 laps with this quality of driver at the front 4.
Virtually identical fastest laps for our top 2 drivers. However, we then have a little bit of a gap behind them where Lemonek is trying to reel in half a second a lap faster overall, but needing to find a way around. And at the moment, Bill, well, credit to him for driving the wheels off of that thing. I'm just waiting to see whether or not the cars behind are catching up. And to their credit, even though they're battling, Luke, the cars behind are still well over 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, 100%. Like these two, you know, they're just doing what they need to do. As much as you say that that's not a huge loss of time, it is massive in these cars, I'm afraid, John. Like these P3 and P4 know exactly what they're doing right now. They're not worried about the group behind at all, as it stands. The front 2, Lemonek, he's doing exactly the same as Van der Slik right now. He's just sitting behind the leader. He may go for it and just want to get that P1 under his belt, but ultimately if he finishes P2, it's exactly the same, isn't it? You qualify in the top 3, you're golden, you move on to the next part of this competition, and you know, Bob's your dad's brother ultimately. So yeah, done and dusted.
I'm mainly looking at the times now for Irvine and how quickly Irvine and Espes are closing in on Balog and Bill. It looks like they have actually closed a bit. They've managed half a second over the next 2 laps, and there's 6 laps left in the race. So you're right, Luke, they will actually come onto the back of this fight and have maybe 2 or 3 laps to potentially get past them if they stay as slow as they are now. Otherwise, though, this is the battle for the final podium position.
Yeah, but this is really, really great news for P3 and P4. If the P5 and P6 get caught by another group of cars, they're just going to battle with each other, and it's all good, right? So This is, you know, just landing really, just landing at their feet as it stands. Here's the front 2. So Jose Soria, and then indeed we've got Lemonek in behind. It looks like the dark blue and the light blue cars are the cheat codes of the week, because P1 to P4 are those colour cars. Through then the right-hander. The liveries do not make any difference, guys. Just to let you know. It was a little joke for me. But yeah, Soria is currently
up, down,
just
down,
doing what he needs to do.
Left, right, left, right. I can't remember how it goes.
Yeah. Oh, that's the wrong one. The helicopter just spawned.
Oh no.
But again, front 2 just doing what they need to do here. P1, P2, P3 is the comfortable qualifying positions. They've only got 6 laps to go once they cross the timing beam now. And the pole Lemonek is just very comfortable in P2 right now. And if they're not being caught by the group behind either, yeah, jobs are good in 0.3 of a second. It's just super manageable. Don't really want to be any closer to the leader here, just in case they make a mistake. That's the only thing that's really going to potentially kill their opportunity of going through, is the driver in front making a mistake, you being too close, you're getting collected.
1:16.675, the fastest lap here for Lemonek in the race. 5 thousandths of a second faster than the car in front. Is he faster? Yes. Not by that much, though, realistically. The slipstream here, especially going uphill, is just absolutely superb for Kevin Van der Slik. He might be able to launch the move, but like you say, he's waiting, he's biding his time. He wants the car in front to know, I'm here, and I will do it at a time of my choosing. You have to keep looking in your mirrors.
It went 3 wide behind as well, so they're battling ferociously in behind for P5. So I wonder if that went. I can't imagine that went down too cleanly. But yeah, they went 3 wide and down that back straight. They realised they've got to make moves, whereas the front 2 groups don't need to be too worried about it right now. Again, Van der Slick just maybe trying to force a mistake here. If he doesn't have to make the overtake via the slipstreaming and can force a mistake where the guy in front loses maybe a second or so and he's not in the slipstream anymore, that'd be the perfect scenario right now. But he will have to get it done at some point. P4 is nothing as it stands. It's the first of the losers, if you like. Although they do score points for the narrative of the whole point scoring, but you know, drivers at this level, they just want to get themselves qualified and not be worried about that sort of thing.
Yeah, a string of 4th places will definitely get you invited to the semi-final. Yeah. It's just that none of the drivers want that to be the way they get there, to be fair. Getting onto the podium, making sure that you've absolutely got that locked and loaded here in this race, having the next 4 laps be the only 4 laps you need to do to guarantee your spot in the semi-final. That's what they want to do, and that might be what Kevin van der Slick is eyeing up right now.
Yeah, is he finally going for it? No, he won't. The strange thing about this situation is normally in their series that they would do in the professional series, they would be trying to save fuel. So being behind another driver is brilliant. That's exactly what you want to do. Save fuel. Maybe you can go an extra lap in the race, and that way you're going to be in a better stead later on in the race in terms of tyre wear. You get that extra lap of tyre wear. But in this, because they're all on default setup, I think they're on medium downforce setup, they've got too much fuel for the car for the race anyway. So being the lead of the group, you're burning off more fuel. So ultimately, it's going to work out in the favour of the car in front later on in this race. They will be a little bit faster in a straight line, so they might be able to defend the position a little bit better here. So Van der Slick might want to get it done sooner rather than later. That's the only factor really he needs to be aware of. It looks like we were indeed seeing some battling back in there. So Balog
was Balog? Yeah,
it was Balog. He's actually got past Cedric Bill. Bill's lost out to Espez as well. So Espez has moved up. We will see that as they cross the timing line now. But I think you're finding that Balog is up into P5. Bill has moved down into P6. Yeah, and then we've got Espez just in behind. Although Espez may have just lost out to Gary Irvine. No, it looks like Irvine is still in P8. Irvine, of course, a great racing name from back in the day with Eddie Irvine.
Really feel for Cedric Bill here. Up to 4th place at one point, really trying to make everything stick. But maybe, Luke, this is a case of running out of tyres after having so much action in the early portions of the race. It looks like he's struggling for grip now. Yeah,
everybody's going to be in that position, though. That's not going to be anything different to anyone else. Like the tyres on these are made of bubble gum, effectively. That's the only way I can really describe it. If you can imagine running a high downforce car like this around Watkins Glen in these temperatures, ladies and gentlemen, with the only thing between your wheel rims and the tarmac is bubble gum, yeah, you can imagine that will indeed disappear off your rim very, very quickly indeed. So yeah, that is ultimately what is going down. And actually, it's one of a very few cars in the game that have multiple compounds of tyre. They are on the medium tyre though today. That is indeed what they have in the setup. Everybody has to use that. But this for the group of 4 now. Gavin Irvine is just onto the back here. Again, potentially Charlie Summers and Kevin van der Slick could take each other out here. If when Kevin does finally try and make that move, if Charlie defends it and Kevin's not ready, the leader of this group here would be promoted into P3. So yeah, there still could be fireworks at the end of this race. They're not going to do it on pace, but it might not necessarily mean they're not going to qualify at all. And also, you've got the front 2. I don't think you're going to see Lemonette try and make the move on Soria. They're quicker than third and fourth and behind them. Oh, that's a big one. That's into the wall. And that will be his charge over Pablo Espez. I don't think we'll be getting too much more involved in this race here. I think he might have damage to the car as well. As we go side by side here then, and Cedric Bill takes the inside line. And once again, Balog holds that outside line, says, thank you very much. I'll keep hold of this position. 2 laps to go once they next cross the timing beam. And yeah, really just hoping now that there's a big prang in front.
Positions reversed there. We've been used to seeing Cedric Bill being the car on the outside defending. Well, now he's on the other end of the stick. And now we see whether Gavin Irvine can go ahead and pass here as well. Note, by the way, he actually made a mistake in the back of our shot while we were talking about them previously. And he lost about a second. But now with Espez hitting the wall, every possibility that he gets that place back as well. Meanwhile, Van der Slick still glued to the end of Charlie Summers.
Absolutely. We have still got 2 laps remaining, though, as they've just crossed the timing line. Kevin van der Slick will look to make the move on the next lap. He will not try and get it done here. But what he might do here, though, is he might run up in front and then get off the gas. He'll just try and figure out exactly how close he needs to be for him to get the move done. He's used to doing this in terms of being an open setup championship. So if he pulls over to the right, then he is trying to figure it out. There we go. So he's trying to figure it out. And will he back out of it, though? No, he doesn't. So he does take the position And I'm wondering if that might be a little bit dangerous here, but Van der Slik has made his move early here. And now he's going to force Charlie Summers to make the move on that final lap. Up towards the right hand, that they will indeed come. And this is the battle for the final qualifying position of the EMEA Region Open Wheel Logitech McLaren G Challenge. If you want to get yourselves involved, ladies and gentlemen, if maybe you think you're better than these, or you have an opportunity to indeed qualify, and maybe you just want to get some experience in the esports scene, go to logitechgchallenge.com, get yourself signed up. So it looks like, again, coming up through, oh, it's a big mistake there, actually. It runs a bit wide. And yeah, that's not ideal at all. And as we come up then towards the final couple of corners, we are heading on to the final lap of today's race. And as it stands then, it is Soria that leads the way. We've then got, Lemonek has made the move. So Lemonek has got ahead here. And Soria is in second. Kevin Van der Slik's done exactly the same as the front two here. So we're on board with Soria. I think Soria is going to potentially retake this position. Oh, wow. Okay, so right now, Lemonek's letting him go, I think. And then he's going to try and get into his slipstream and then retake him. We want to be looking realistically at the group behind, though. These two are going to finish P1, P2, I think. It's all about that bubble position. And actually, it is going to be Soria that retakes the lead here. Got to be careful. Nearly a bit of contact between the two. Squeeze onto the grass there. And well, I tell you what, they've been going very easy on each other for the entirety of this race. All of a sudden, they've gone into I'm fighting for everything mode, which seems a little bit strange. Kevin Van der Slik, though, and Charlie Summers, what positions are they in? Did Charlie retake that third spot? I guess we'll find out sooner rather than later. Lemonek then is going to go for a send up the inside. Oh, contact between the front two. Oh, Lemonek's taken Soria out. Soria, though, is going to survive here, I think. And the front left wheel then of Lemonek is missing. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. And he's just about going to get himself across the line here. But actually, no, he's going to be in trouble. He's got that damage. Is he going to be okay? I think he's just about going to be okay here. Kevin Van Slik, I think, has been overtaken by Charlie Summers as well. So the position's going to be given back for sure. Yes. So Lemonek will finish in second position. Soria is going to finish in first. Charlie Summers does get back the position, and Kevin Van der Slik then in fourth. So Lemonek then went for a dive up the inside. No idea why he's done that. Luckily, they both go through, but that could have ended in absolute tears.
Finishing the race with 3 wheels, high risk, not very high reward, let's be honest, but at the end of the day, racing drivers, you know, they want to finish first, and sometimes they completely forget that first or not at all isn't always the default mode. Lemonek absolutely going for it and almost paying the ultimate price, but still managing to finish the race in the top 3. High drama on the final lap.
Yeah, huge drama. And again, we're watching, we're watching this from our perspective. And doesn't necessarily mean that the wheel had fallen off of Lemonek's car. It just being what we see. It didn't look like his performance was really suffering from that wheel hanging off the car.
He looked like he was very quick for 3 wheels, I'll be honest.
He's weight shaving. He's just, of course, he's a little bit lighter, so that's why he's able to go faster. But yeah, I just think that's so silly. Like, they could have, one of them was going to still go through, I think, because the gap to P5 was too big, but they nearly lost out the opportunity there just from a silly late dive up the inside, which just really didn't need to happen. They've been so good for 14 and a half laps, and then with like 4 corners to go, they decide to then go at it like they're Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. Like, I just don't understand it.
It was very, very risky indeed, and it almost all ended in tears. Maybe a little bit of a cautionary tale to both. That was unbelievably tense at the end. I thought both of those cars had an opportunity to be overtaken by 3rd through 5th, and they might not have made it through to the top 3 at all. We didn't have enough time to gauge how bad the damage was. We had to wait to see how much speed they took through the next couple of corners before we realized they could actually make the checkered flag. So do I want to see racing like that? Absolutely. On the final lap, though, when it could result in that much heartbreak, credit to them, you know what, for having the guts to do it. It certainly entertained us on the desk.
I don't care. I'm not. It's not my position I'm jeopardizing. Crack on. I don't mind seeing that. It's brilliant for me. It's brilliant for everyone watching at home. We'd love to see a bit of carnage. It's like a nice little bit of seasoning on the racing. But yeah, it's again. I think Kevin Van der Slik made a mistake as well himself by making that move a lap too early. So
right,
huge shame for him. And I don't know. I just think there were some silly decisions made after being so placid the whole race and really looking after their positions. And then in the final race, it's just like their brain exited their head or something. It's just crazy.
Well, you called it, Luke. Being just behind going into the final lap has effectively paid off for 2nd and 4th. Let's go ahead and take a look at our final results here for the open wheel race sponsored by Splunk. Your winner is Jose Soria, And then we have Lemonade just behind, but my goodness, they nearly didn't finish at all. Charlie Summers will take the final podium position with Van der Slick finishing in 4th, getting 32 points from that fantastic effort as well. Balog will be in 5th and Bill is in 6th. Irvine recovered from his previous scare to finish in 7th, and Espez will finish in 8th. I wonder if that means there was a late race error from Espez or similar, because I think he got in front of both of them at one point, but that was a fantastic midfield tussle. We then have Van der Waals in 9th place, and Julian Blanchard will finish our top 10. I think Blanchet didn't he start at the back of the grid or close to the back of the grid? That is a phenomenal result, if so.
Yeah, well, that just goes to show how much action there was. Remember, Espez hit that wall on the long straight after the S's, so that's why he dropped down the back there. In the rest of the drivers there, we've got Andreas J. Henkel, who finishes in 11th. These are all pretty much DNFs, though. Shabolk Stang, Julian Bachmann, we've got Thomas Cope, Adam Illman, Matthew Crisp, Tamas Simon, and Tim Matzke as your 18 drivers.
So let's go ahead and look back at that race. Oh my God, I say highlights. There are a ridiculous number of things that happened from start to finish. We were absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, there you go. This is the defining moment for 3 of our favourite drivers. Tamas Simon being one of them, Tim Matzke being another. And that was race over. And that is a big old slide off there down in towards the right-hander into the loop. And again, it's just, I don't know, poor decision making. Oh, that's not poor decision making. It's a good opportunity to make an overtake, and ultimately just got squeezed there on the exit with a lack of traction from the purple car. And, well, you can say that the driver didn't do everything they could in terms of getting out of the way, but they're a bit of a passenger when they've got wheels that don't turn left and right. When they're not attached to the wheel, attached to your car, you're in a bit of trouble, unfortunately. And then, as we see, we're looking on board with the lead group here. And ultimately, they were really good. They managed the race perfectly well. And then, there we go. That was Espez. That's what cleaned his race out. That's for sure. But yeah, they were just really clever up until the final 2 laps, where it was almost like they forgot what they'd been doing for 13 laps that got them into that position. This was indeed the battle for the lead of the race. And just, again, a lap too early. Lemonette then makes that late lunge up the inside when what the difference between first and second is absolutely nothing. The difference between 3 and 4 wheels is absolutely everything. So, yeah, very silly mistake there. But across the line they come. They're all crawling across the line here, all thankful that they finished the race. But ultimately, I just think 2 drivers there specifically could have been in better positions in that race, and they've just made a bit of a mistake in the last couple of corners.
Thankful that they finished the race indeed, although it's very difficult to tell any racing driver that first and second is exactly the same. They were both clearly going for it. They just about managed to hang on and didn't pay the ultimate price for that, though, which is good to see. A massive thank you as well to Splunk, Logitech G, Quantum Pay, and McLaren for helping us put this broadcast together. We've now had 2 of our 3 EMEA races this evening, and coming up after this break, we've got the Sports Car Challenge, where we're going to send another 3 drivers straight through to the semi-finals. See you there. the Logitech McLaren G Challenge in September, we transport you to Brands Hatch, one of the UK's most loved racing circuits. Let's get stuck in. Off the Brabham Straight, your first corner will be the Paddock Hill Bend. Avoid the inside curb as this will bounce the car around, causing you to lose valuable time. Heading into Druids shortly afterwards, you can afford to brake late here since the corner is on a steep incline. Keeping just clear of the curbs on the exit, you'll then have a good downhill run going towards Graham Hill. Surtees soon follows, where you don't want to run wide because it will be crucial to get the power down early so you can gain as much time as possible with a good exit onto the back straight. Hawthorne Bend is then the high action point of Brands Hatch. Accelerate mid-corner and get as smooth a high-speed exit as you possibly can to maintain your momentum. Finally, approaching the end of the lap, make sure to carry as much of your speed as possible through clearways onto Clark Curve for maximum speed heading onto the home straight. Visit LogitechGChallenge.com to enter, and we'll see you on track. Welcome back to the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. 2 of our races are down for the EMEA region this month, and we've got 1 more left to go. My name's John Sargent. With me is Luke Crane. Luke, what an incredible race we just had on Watkins Glen. It really served us up a treat.
I think we could say that for both races, to be fair. It's been one of those where raw pace hasn't been what's showcased. It's more about the mental side of racing and picking your battles and picking your spots. We saw a driver in Illman, unfortunately, in race number 1 kind of cost himself the chance to move forward. But again, when you make these mistakes, it's all about if you can learn from it and push forward. So it's, to get faster, you've got to make mistakes ultimately. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. And then we saw very much similar in race number 2, where it just seemed like everybody lost what they'd learned over the last however many years of being sim racing. It's just instantly like, oh, we're a beginner on lap 14 of 15. It was just, it was absolutely crazy action. But ultimately, I guess that's what pressure provides. Pressure does bring on mistakes. And when you're trying to just focus on one thing, and then certainly you get told, oh, actually, hold on, you've got to manage who's behind you. You've got to try and move forward in this race. It's not always about hitting that racing line. It's about position now. It can just scramble your brain. And I think we just quite clearly saw that.
It's one of those situations, really, where it's almost acting like a pressure cooker. You're saying, it's fine, I'm calm, I'm mature, I can just wait. We can make the overtake later on in the lap. But when you start thinking, oh, I'm actually running out of time to do this, suddenly the mist can descend on a number of drivers. And I feel like that's what we saw there in race 2. But here we are now in qualifying for race number 3. This is Brands Hatch. The vehicles you're seeing on your screen are the McLaren 720S GT3 sports cars, and this is going to be an absolutely delightful race as well.
Yeah, 100%. This is kind of quite the opposite of what we've seen previously already. Qualifying is not that huge around Talladega and a NASCAR. Ultimately, you want to start as far up as possible, but it's not the biggest or the the Edward if you don't. And then when you come into the open where we just saw at Watkins Glen, again, doesn't really matter where you qualify, you can make your way through the pack. Around Brands Hatch with these cars, all qualifying is everything. You get yourself up into that top 3, you're feeling pretty good for the race.
Now, we've got something a little bit special to share with you guys here at the Logitech McLaren G Challenge this evening as well. It's even better than pictures of Luke, but not by much, don't worry. We've got a new series here called Behind the Wheel. So we're following a couple of our star players every month, and we're checking in on their journey throughout the entirety of the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. We're going to dive in and learn a little bit more now, specifically about our sports car driver, Chris McDade.
I race in the McLaren, the Logitech McLaren G Challenge has I think I forgot something again, didn't I? And I made sure I'd gone to the toilet because this. My name is Chris McDade. I race in the Logitech McLaren G Challenge in the sports car class. So I live in the southwest of England in a little place called Torbay, and I work with my family. We have a little business that supplies the trawlers in Brixham with everything that they need, pretty much, all from oil to steel, filters, all bits and bobs. So we keep the fleet running. So my love for racing mostly stemmed from me and my dad watching the motorbikes together, like MotoGP and Superbike mostly. But it's only fairly recently where I got Project Cars 2. So I've always used a controller, and I just found it really hard on the controller, that game. So I thought, you know what, I'll just try buying a really cheap wheel and seeing if I like it. And then I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. That's where it started, and it's just carried on from there pretty much. For my sim racing setup, we use the Logitech headphones. Feel amazing, great sound, so ideal really for this thing. Coming down to the pedals, we're running about a 80 kilo load cell roughly, so it's pretty heavy but still quite manageable. We got this super ultra mega wide monitor. Coming down here, we got the PC, and I'm not even going to pretend I know anything about this. My knowledge of PCs is, you know, like that. Outside of work and sim racing, my main hobbies are I love going to the gym and keeping myself strong and healthy. And I also really enjoy classic cars. So I've got 2 of them, and I just try and keep them running basically. I also love designing things. As you see, I've got the 3D printer behind me. So I use that to design bits for my sim rig. You know, even if it's just like little wheel mount or something for the shifter, just something to make it a bit more personal to me. So my ultimate goals for sim racing is to eventually race in like a really top tier team, and also the dream goal is to get a real life racing seat from it. So to achieve my goals, I know I need to be one of the very best out there, because there's so much competition in sim racing. The standard just keeps getting higher and higher with like all new drivers coming in. It's really nice to have all this support around me. It just gives me like even more motivation to do well in my races. With all my friends and family, they're always watching on the stream. Although mum's not great on the computer, so usually I have to show her the next day or something. What I can take away from the first 2 rounds is just how much I need to practice. It's getting to the level of these guys is one thing, but getting above them is just, it feels almost impossible at this point. At the end of the season, I really want to see myself racing in the final against all these amazing racers and just try my very best to get the wins and hopefully the championship title. 3 fun facts about myself. I have a mechanical engineering degree. I have 2 dogs, a Labrador and a Whippet, and I also used to play guitar in a band for probably about 10 years, maybe. I still try and do the band, but sim racing has taken over a bit.
Welcome back to qualifying for the Sports Car Challenge here at the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. This is our final race for the EMEA region this evening, and that was Chris McDade for this edition of Behind the Wheel. We'll be checking on him in a month's time at the next race. What an absolutely astounding player profile. He seems like a really friendly guy as well. It'd be really good to meet him at some point at a LAN.
Yeah, I race with him at iRacing and special events, and he is so fun to be around. Yeah, he's also addicted to ice cream. It'll make you all feel bad out there. He's one of the most delicious looking humans in the world, yet he also is addicted to ice cream. So yeah, I look at ice cream and I put on about 10 pounds. This guy can just shovel it in its pints load and he still looks like he's chiseled from stone. Ridiculous human being. But again, yeah, top fella. And yeah, wishing the very best for this season, that's for sure. And yeah, if there's someone who out there that will put the work in and will reach his goals, it's Chris McDade. He genuinely will.
I'm just still angry about the ice cream. I look at a lettuce leaf and I feel like I put on half a pound. It's unfortunate. I don't know what I can do about it. Well, I do know what I can do about
gym,
it.
I guess.
Yeah, unfortunately, all of my options appear to be less tasty than the default, so it does make it a little bit trickier. Anyway, 3 minutes left to go in qualifying here, and we are on Brands Hatch, one of the most loved racing circuits in the UK and indeed the world. An absolutely stacked lobby as well. We are sneaking on board with Brandon Abraham by the looks of things. You just spot that car through the trees, that beautiful light green livery. Last year's winner, back for more in 2021.
Yeah, and for the first time, he is right at the sharp end. He's kind of been in and around the top 10 for the previous 2 races, but today, P2 as it stands, and the potentially looking to move up a little bit higher as well. And it's not by a lot that he's P2, it's just over a tenth of a second. Still 2 minutes, 30 seconds to go, so 2 more attempts really around this circuit. Watch out for Marco Yonkers. Marco Yonkers is someone who's pretty new in terms of racing within ACC, or someone that I've come across recently. He actually races in my Porsche Cup Series at ACR, and he has just come on leaps and bounds. Like, he was sort of around the top sort of 7 or 8 at the start of the season last season, but then he was mixing it with the likes of a driver we haven't seen yet, Mike Noble, Yaroslav Honzik, people will know who Jardier is, Chris McDade. Has been mixing it with those kinds of drivers near the end of the season. So he's someone who's getting faster and faster. And again, Luke Whitehead, who we're seeing on screen right now, currently second, as Jordan Sherratt then, who was the fastest qualifier, has taken provisional pole here with 22.056. Pretty surprised we've not seen a 21 yet. They're quite rare to see. 20 is possible, but not with this car specifically. But yeah, again, back onto Luke Whitehead. He's another driver that's relatively new coming into the scene, but he is right at the top instantly. So expect to see him do very well over the next few months for sure.
First 12 drivers, all in the 122 so far in this qualifying session. Just a minute and a half to go for anyone to improve their time, and the field is reasonably bunched up. It'll be curious to know if anyone will actually move on. Jordan Sherratt, very late addition to the top of the leaderboard, but a 122.056 is going to put him on provisional pole with just over 1 minute remaining.
For sure, if we see a 21 here in this session, that is absolutely on the limit for this car. As it stands, and no one's been able to quite get down to that level. Whitehead's not been able to improve. Abraham not been able to improve. Van der Koekout moves up into P4, actually displaces Yonkers now. But yeah, it is, again, all about the Safa at the top end of the qualifying table. He is in P1, and it'd be very difficult for anyone to really, again, finding a couple of hundredths around a circuit like Brands Hatch is manageable, but try and find a full tenth of a second, especially when the time's at 22.0, it's almost impossible here. So Sherratt has really hit that time at the right time, really.
I'm not sure if the order's going to be shaken up very much now with 20 seconds left to go. The hot laps people are still on. Well, let's see how good they actually are. Brandon Abraham in third at the moment, and Luke Whitehead separating him from pole position. Most players, like everyone here, is looking pretty solid. Yannick could really use a little bit of a boost, down in 16th place at the moment in the 124. Still might have been a mistake on an earlier lap and scrambling to rectify, but otherwise this looks like a very nice, very tight field going into our race.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're going to, well, Brandon Abraham, by the way, just gone up to P2. I think we're going to see, for the first time, drivers panic, because if you're not in that top 3 at the start of this race, you could find yourself into some serious trouble because of the nature of the circuit. It's just almost impossible to overtake around here unless someone makes a glaring mistake in front of you. So if you're not kind of in that top 5 early doors, you're going to see people moving and shaking as quickly as they possibly can as Yannick comes across the line and actually gets into the 23s then. So 23.8. But again, you know, that is that as much as people will look at that and go, compared to P1, that is a pretty sluggish time. That is a ridiculous lap time around Brands Hatch. I cannot stress how quick P1 is compared to that. But yeah, everybody here are very, very fast indeed.
This is looking pretty delightful. I can't wait to see what kind of race this is going to serve up. Brandon Abraham promoting himself into P2 by 0.003 of a second ahead of Luke Whitehead at that. This is going to be as beautiful as you like. Yonkers also at the death, bringing himself up into P4. And I think he was the last of the cars to cross the line as well. So further down, he's now made it onto row 2 of the grid.
Okay, so I don't think we're going to see this in the race, ladies and gentlemen. We've just been teased here with some wet weather.
Oh, if only.
Yeah, it is wetter than an otter's pocket there in the background. But yeah, here are your track conditions for today's race.
25-degree ambient temperature. I'm not sure we're getting a 30-degree track temperature with the amount of water that I'm seeing resting on the track at the moment. So no doubt we will get that sorted as well. But it's going to be sunny weather with no breeze. So a nice chilled out day at Brands Hatch. The level of elevation at Brands Hatch actually makes it quite a fun race to really just attend and sort of sit around and watch the cars go around corners. It's a lot more extreme than you can really see on the observer package here online. I don't really know how to describe it, but when you're stood on top of, for example, you're sort of at the hairpin after turn 1, it's just lovely watching the cars go around you and back down. It's a very unique track to spectate at, I would say.
Yeah, you're struggling to find words there, and I was quite enjoying you trying to find those words. To
See
be
that clump of
honest.
trees? I was stood there watching the cars. BTCC. Good fun. Right, we actually have our finishing qualifiers now. Sheraton Abraham will be your first and second place cars, respectively. Whitehead and Yonkers, setting his time right at the death, will comprise row 2. Van der Kerkholt and Adam will be on row 3. Tarek Adam, one to watch out for indeed. And returner and longtime sim racer Patrick Adamczyk will be lining up 7th alongside Leslie Oliphant. We then have Jonathan Seville and Leo Boulay rounding out our top 10.
The rest of our drivers then will indeed be Sebastian Cruel, Daniel Valle. We've then got Mattis Voss. We've got Danny Ruiz. We've got Chris McDade. And then we've got Simon Yannick. Chris McDade actually not running in his own rig this evening. So that might be as to why he's so far down the grid order. He is actually taking part in the virtual Le Mans this weekend. So he's at the a team base. He's racing for Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club, believe it or not.
Well, if that... something I'd almost much rather he be at home on his own rig then. I think something else must have gone wrong for him to qualify 15th, but one thing's for sure, if he's down there, then I'm looking forward to seeing how, maybe not when, he bursts into the top 10. He's gonna have a cracking race from back there.
You'd like to think so. Not sure that's going to be possible though, unfortunately. We'll see. If anyone can do it, it can be Chris McDade. And here we go, we're off then. And Jordan Sherritt takes the inside line straight away. Brandon Abraham under some severe pressure from Luke Whitehead. Whitehead up the inside then. And I think he is going to get up to P2. As Brandon Abraham then, well, closes the door on Whitehead. Whitehead's going to have to go on the brakes relatively early up towards turn number 2. As they come then down towards Graham Hill, they all sort of filter in to their respective positions. Whitehead, though, does completely, well, just hold on to P3 as him and Abraham absolutely went at it. But the big winner there is Jordan Sherritt. He's off into the lead. And, well, he is not going to be looking back, that's for sure.
Absolutely not. This is looking very entertaining for lap number 1, but at the same time, we haven't had any big crashes or anything like that. Players giving each other just enough respect while trying to squeeze every possible advantage. Sherritt is absolutely rocketing off into the distance. Abraham has a little bit of clean air as well, to be fair, but he's still keeping touch with the cars behind. This is a fairly regulation, I have to say, so far. Nice and clean.
Yeah, for sure. We just saw Tariq Adam actually make a move on Patrick Adamczyk through the entrance of Surtees. A very nice move there indeed. A bit of a mistake actually made by Adamczyk, and Tariq Adam pouncing like a panther as we come up towards the end of lap number 1. Jordan Sherritt doing everything he needs to do here. Again, even if he drops a couple of positions, he's still going to be in that top 3. That's all you need to get through to those semi-finals. Abraham and Whitehead then have got a nice little bit of a gap then to Marco Yonkers. Yonkers is one of those drivers, though, that's very, very good on the tyres. Tyre wear is not going to be a huge factor, but they will notice it around Brands Hatch minimally. But Yonkers is very good on the tyres, so expect to see him come back, and he's very patient as well. Just in behind them, then we have in P5. Oh, Yannick then that's having a bit of contact there, and that's at the back. Mattis Wass, I think, might have been involved in that as well. Yannick comes back onto the circuit here, and, well, that is not the position you want to be. You do not want to be out in the key there.
No, I think that was Yannick going off track, avoiding a spinning Chris McDade as well. So I wonder if there was a minor incident a couple of seconds earlier that meant he had to take avoiding action there. Not 100% sure. Chris McDade now dropping back, was up to 12th or 13th place, and sadly is back in 15th and indeed in last place at the moment. So possibly that's his race done, unfortunately. Luke Whitehead on the in the meanwhile, now catching up to Brandon Abraham, just a couple of cars widths behind him, and Marco Yonkers will be giving him a real challenge for second place at some point soon.
Yeah, he'll have to try and force a move here as well. If he feels like he's faster than Abraham, he'll have to try and force a move because the two cars behind are too close. So he'll try and get ahead here of Abraham, and then let Abraham have to deal with Yonkers and indeed Van der Kerkholt. Tariq Adam then around about 9/10 behind Van der Kerkholt. And then there's a little bit of a gap to Leslie Oliphant. But the front 6 are away here. The big story, though, is Jordan Sherritt, the biggest qualifier, or the quickest qualifier into this event this weekend. Is absolutely dominating right now. Great start and a great first couple of laps. Nearly 2 seconds in the lead. There's nothing to really worry about in behind. It's all really about qualifying laps, hot laps now. Just indeed keep yourself on that racing line. Don't make a mistake and you're going to punch your ticket to the semi-finals.
A lot of the stories up and down the field are being about pressure building, drivers getting up alongside each other potentially in the second half of the race. And Jordan Sherritt says, I just don't want to have to deal with any of that. I'm going to drive my own race and try and pull out a gap. He's doing that beautifully right now. A second and a half ahead going into basically after 2 laps. This is absolutely phenomenal from him. If he can keep going like this, nobody else is going to get a foot in the door, and they're going to be reliant on mistakes. And what we're going to be looking at is who is going to be fighting behind him. That's exactly what Sherrod wants right now. And to be fair, he hasn't put a wheel wrong.
Yeah, well, he drove straight across the bonnet of Abraham as soon as he got the race started here into turn number 1, which meant Brandon Abraham then tried to go around the outside in through turn number 1, through Paddock Hill Bend, and left the door open for Whitehead. So then Whitehead went up the inside, as we see McDade being very patient here, battling with Simon Yannick. But yeah, Whitehead then went up the inside of, indeed, Brandon Abraham, lost each other stupid amount of time up towards turn number 2, and yeah, Jordan Sherrod was off gallivanting towards the distance, as McDade again is just getting a little bit bogged down here. It's going to be frustrating for sure, but Yannick doing everything he can in just terms of defending here. McDade just trying to get back up into that top 50, but Yannick doing a very, very good job of making that McLaren 720S very wide indeed. As we head back up towards P2 and P3, I think Abraham might be struggling here because Whitehead, Yonkers, and Van der Kukel are all closing in. Again, it's a pretty easy track. If there's one track you want to be struggling with pace and you're in a good position, as McDade is off the circuit then, and yeah, this is not good. That's him out of the race then. But yeah, if there's one circuit that you maybe not quite on the, you know, the leader's pace, but you're in a qualifying position, it would be Brands Hatch, because it's such an easy track to manage in terms of defending. But ultimately, you don't want cars too close and trying to force a move up the inside, because if you do make a mistake around here, or you do get forced off wide, the barriers aren't far away from that grass, and you will have the race over very, very quickly indeed.
Hopefully we don't have that happening to too many other drivers, as we see Chris McDade go off the track and into retirement, unfortunately. There will be another opportunity for him to race, though, later on, I am sure, and we're all really looking forward to that as well. So a disappointing start, sadly, to this weekend's racing in EMEA for Chris McDade. Hopefully, though, we'll see him bounce back with a vengeance. Quarter of a second now. Whitehead has to be eyeing up Abraham on this next lap, right?
Well, again, earlier on in this race, I would have said, yeah, absolutely, but I just don't think he has to now. Like, there's a big enough gap. Again, it doesn't look like a huge gap, but at this level, you know, half a second is manageable. You know, you're not going to get dived up the inside from an experienced driver from behind when they're half a second behind you. Yeah. When you're in a public lobby, you could expect it from 5 seconds behind. But yeah, at this level, you're going to be fine. Just keep holding, just hitting your marks, and you should be okay. But if you do try and force a move on Abraham, and you don't get it done, that's where, indeed, they will close up and it becomes a 4-driver race for the top 3 position. Right now, you're comfortably in P3. You've got nothing to really be too worried about. But yeah, if you, again, you have to be like half a second faster over a course of a lap to get an overtake done. And it's just so difficult around a short circuit like this to find half a second through one corner. So ultimately, again, you just don't want to put yourself in a position where you're going to lose loads of time and then put yourself under pressure from behind again.
Other close fights up and down the field at the moment include Jonathan Seville right up on the back of Patrick Adamchuk, and that's for 8th place. We also have Sebastian Croal focusing on defending his position against Danny Ruiz, who's also just under 0.3 of a second behind him. In fact, actually, that's going to be a big battle. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. We're watching P12. That's Was right in front of Croal, Ruiz, and Yannick. It looks like this is a 3-car fight for 13th place.
Yeah, Yannick's about 8 seconds behind me, so he's not in this battle. We've got Mattis Voss then, who leads the way, and he's got a little bit of a security blanket in behind him because Croal and Ruiz are pretty close to each other. Again, Croal is not going to be looking to move forward here. He's going to be making sure that the door's closed for any potential advancements from behind as we then head back up towards the lead pack here. This is P5, and Van der Kukel and Yonkers, they need to really start making some advancements here and force a decision from Whitehead. The perfect scenario for these two is that Whitehead does indeed attack Abraham, or Abraham makes a little bit of a mistake. They run side by side, and it just gives them an opportunity of a potential mistake, so that ultimately the cards are in their hands right now. They've got to play those cards. They've got to force that mistake by just putting themselves closer. Again, they've all got the relative on their screens. They know exactly how much a car behind is closing in. So it's now all about really maximising your time. You know, you've done your hot laps, you've done your qualifying laps. Of course, you've got dirty air to be, you know, factoring in all of this. But you've got to shoot your shot now. The last thing you want to do is just be sat in a possession as Marco Yonkers runs a little bit wide there over the top of the hill. And Van der Kukel, ideally in this situation with 11 minutes 50 seconds to go, he wants Yonkers to catch them. He doesn't really want to have to make that overtake, then go and attack the 2 in front. He kind of wants to catch up with Yonkers. So he doesn't want to see a mistake there from him. But yeah, you don't want to get to the end of this, John, and be like, oh, God, I just literally sat in a processional race where maybe you could force something to happen. Obviously, don't take someone off the circuit, but just send your nose up the inside and, okay, it's going to cost you some time in one lap, but are you going to be able to force a mistake? You're going to put it into the head of the driver in front of you that, oh, God, he's going to dive me up the inside somewhere else, and then let him make his own sort of downfall, his own demise, if you like. But ultimately, this is what they want to see. They want to see Whitehead attack Abraham, slow each other down, and then Yonkers and Van der Koekoek can then potentially make a move themselves. And here we go. There's a mistake from Abraham, and Whitehead did look for a move at the inside, and I don't think it was a mistake. I think Abraham just opened up the corner a little bit more than he has done. Whitehead nearly then sends up the inside, but ultimately it's been a false alarm.
I was going to say, just before I mentally cast a curse this, that Whitehead's doing a very good job of just staying immediately behind Abraham. He's not forcing Abraham to stare in his mirrors. He's not sort of juking off the racing line to let him know he's there and he's looking to overtake. I think Whitehead recognizes that he has to pick his opportunity carefully, and he knows he doesn't want to force Abraham defensive any more than he has to, because both drivers are ultimately going to lose time, and he wants to make sure that he's able to defend that position from Yonkers. But he's now starting to have a little bit of a sniff, is Whitehead, and Abraham will know it all too well.
Yeah, it's the first time really I've seen Abraham have a bit of a scrappy lap, running a little bit too wide. Again, he's just trying to maximize his exit speed. Maybe a little bit too much there as Jordan Sherritt, the gap between Jordan Sherritt and Brandon Abraham. We should get a look there. Well, it's 4.8 seconds anyway. So Sherritt is, well, again, I don't know what it is. 3.6, it's going up, it's going down.
It's a random number generator.
Yeah, it's a gap. There's a gap between P1 and P2, gap. Ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, let me just count. 1, 2, 3, 3.5 seconds. There we go. Pick it up here.
Ha, 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 ha.
Got my stopwatch out. But yeah, Sherritt does lead the way. Abraham again, yeah, he just takes a wide entrance through turn number 4. It's his usual line there, so again, a bit of a false alarm in the previous lap. And here we go then, Whitehead flashing the lights. We love to see a driver flash their lights, just to let them know, the driver in front, hi mate, how you doing? You all good? You know, everything okay? It's nothing to do with trying to put them off in front, and that, you know, obviously I don't despise that either. Oh God, I hate it, John. I hate it.
Every trick in the book. To be fair, it's short of contact. It does look like that Whitehead's lost a car length or two coming up the hill there.
He's used all his battery now, and he's flashing his lights.
That's it, yeah, it's got to be. I think it's instant karma in Luke's book.
He won't be able to use air conditioning in this car now.
Can you imagine? You'd be trying to work out up and down the field what songs they're playing.
Don't. I do that on my stream sometimes.
Oh, that's quite good fun.
Yeah, quite often it's some sexy sax being played on the old radio.
Oh, there I was thinking it would be like Highway to Hell, you know, Bat Out of Hell, some sort of big driving song. Radar Log's an excellent one.
Spice Girls 2 Become One's a particular favourite of drivers.
Got it, I know where your head's at. Yep, I'm following.
Careless Whispers up there as well. It's just got to keep your mind in a good positive vibe zone, right?
Yeah, exactly right. And to be fair, Abraham, after that scrappy lap, he's... I don't want to use the phrase calm down, but he certainly tidied up the lap a little bit, and he's not giving Luke really much in the way of an obvious opening. So the question will become, what cracks first, Abraham's resolve or Luke's patience?
This is a strange one here. So Abraham's got more experience in terms of being in this position in an esports competition. Whitehead's got more experience of being at the top level of this particular sim. So it's kind of, yeah, David meets Goliath, if you like. It's
who's David?
Yeah, it's going to crumble. So it's going to. Which one's going to crumble here in terms of what level of experience they have? For one driver who isn't right now and has the fastest lap, 22.2, which is about a tenth and a half off of what we saw in qualifying for pole position. So that's mind blowing in itself. It's Jordan Sherritt, an absolutely stellar performance thus far. 7 minutes 30 seconds to go. Just keep on the straight and narrow, and you are golden. Even though Abraham and Whitehead have been racing relatively close, as you can see, they've just got themselves a nice little gap there to P4 and P5. And Yonkers, this is now sort of the part of the race where I normally see him close up to a group in front. So Yonkers, if he's kept anything in the tank, now will be the time where he will start to close up. And yeah, you can see actually a couple of other cars are now involved here, aren't they? Van der Koekoek and indeed Tariq Adam. Tariq Adam wasn't this close to this group of cars at all during this race. The last couple of laps, he really has put the hammer down. And yeah, Abraham and Whitehead, any mistakes being made here, and ultimately it could cost them.
4 or 5 second gap between Tariq Adam and Leslie Oliphant there, so he's rounding up that train of cars. Tariq Adam has had a pretty impressive race so far. He might actually be someone to watch going around Van der Koekelt and potentially challenging Yonkers and even Whitehead for a top 3 position. He'll have to start making that move, though, relatively soon, and he has to start with Niels Van der Koekelt, but he's close enough that he could do it.
Yeah, for sure. Let's be honest, John. At this level, anyone from that group of drivers in the top 6 is, getting to the finals. You'd expect to see those names up there. That's how good they are.
Yep.
But ultimately, this track is, it's got its own ideas. Really, it's very difficult to make overtakes, and qualifying is. I guess it's similar to like Monaco. Monaco is effectively dealt with in Formula One by qualifying. Wherever you qualify, you tend to finish in the race. Very rarely do you see the whole grid, chopped and changed up. There's lots of incidents involved. And Brands Hatch is pretty similar in terms of these GT cars as well. They're not good enough under braking, really, to force one up the inside, and they're not really good enough under acceleration to make a move on the outside, on the exits of corners either. So it's just, a bit of a strange one, really. But right now, if Whitehead was a lot faster than Abraham, would he be trying to get any closer than he is right now if he can manage his position? Probably not. I think this is just more leaning on your experience, just getting that job done, punching that ticket. And weekend's done on the Friday night. Rest of the weekend, you can go out and do what you want, have some boozers, go and have a takeaway, do what you like. Go to the disco, as they used to say in the 1970s, not in 2021. But, getting it done early is always good.
It's an interesting sales pitch, that. It'd be like, were you considering a holiday to Monaco? Well, look, Kent, and in particular, this one bit just off of the A20, actually more similar than you think. Definitely give it a visit.
Yeah, I've told you not to call me Ashley, but up to you.
Oh dear, oh dear. But I mean, in terms of on-track results so far, you are right. We're seeing a lot of close racing, but close and not quite overtaking at the moment. Let's see if we can cast a curse something into existence here. Luke Whitehead continuing to get closer and closer to Brandon Abraham. And you know what? He's not actually shaking off Marco Jonkers at the moment. So there is a little bit of consideration for him to make a move to try and give himself a little bit of a buffer in that 3rd place. At the end of the day, a small mistake here could still mean that Jonkers goes ahead and steals that 3rd. He's still less than a second behind.
As much as this is really important in terms of the competition, something more pressing is needed to be dealt with. I see X-Wolf's not taking part this weekend. He's actually off visiting his mum this weekend. So I need to know during this weekend, at any point, if X-Wolf's mum is okay. That's all I need to know. So you need to either make sure that she's in the chat at some point, or you are telling me she's all good. What a lovely woman she is indeed. Back to the race. Sorry, John.
Don't really know where to go from there, but I do hope Xbox One is okay, and it'd be great to see. You know what? One of the best things in esports in general, not just in racing, is when parents of the participants are in chat rooting on their son or daughter. Very few things in esports warm my heart more. So I absolutely want to see Xbox Mum in chat at some point this weekend.
She's his biggest fan. Fact. It is what it is. When we do endurance races together, she's watching from start to finish. It'll be a 24-hour race. She stays awake longer than we do.
That's amazing.
Great commitment. Absolutely.
Love it. Love it.
But again, back to this race. 3 minutes, 30 seconds to go. Still normal service resumed, though. Jordan Sherratt out in the lead by nearly 5 seconds now as it stands. Brandon Abraham in 2nd position. Luke Whitehead is in 3rd, 0.2 of a second. Luke Whitehead there again flashing his lights. Looks like he's managed to charge up the battery sufficiently enough to have more headlight ability usage as they come through Paddock Hill Bend. Really nice to see the different lines being taken there on entry, exit, pretty similar. And again, Brandon Abraham just holding firm, hit those apexes. And again, the only way they're making a move on you is if they tag you. So you are golden right now. Through Graham Hill Bend we come, grabbing as much curb as you dare. On the exit, you can grab quite a bit. It's quite level up there. But again, it's just normal service resumed. But I said Marco Jonkers normally has something in the tank to offer near the end of the race. He is starting to close up here, and he's kind of gapped Van der Koekelt a little bit here. So, yeah, Jonkers, Whitehead and Abraham as it stands. You get a lovely view from the back of Jonkers' car now, watching him trying to chase down those two for that 3rd spot.
Might be giving Whitehead a little bit more to think about now coming into the closing stages of this race. Is it bad that I've commentated with you enough now that when you said we're golden, I genuinely thought it was a reference to the song that Luke Whitehead might be listening to on the radio right now? And then when I realized it wasn't a Mika reference, I sort of snapped back to the race and went, oh yeah, we've still got a race going on here for 2nd place. Brandon Abraham,
You're right, John.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify, are you okay?
I've been worse. I think we're doing all right. I'm enjoying the racing. maybe
we've got a
maybe
5-hour gap between now and the next broadcast.
I'll be
so
going on a road
struggling
trip.
now, I'm worried.
There'll be a massive playlist. I'll just be going on a 5-hour road trip, coming straight back to do APAC, mate. Don't you worry about it. And Mika's We Are Golden is going to be #1 on that list. Oh, a bit of a slide there from Brandon Abraham. I'm not sure it was major enough to warrant any sort of deviation from line. If you're going to make a mistake or any sort of error, that's probably about as small as they come, and Luke Whitehead not even going to try and get alongside.
I think well, Whitehead makes a mistake there, by the way. I think they all do. That was a monkey see, monkey do situation, ladies and gentlemen, where one car runs off wide and then the rest of them also follow suit. And I was actually just about to say there's an unknown here because Whitehead is not trying to press Abraham for a move here during this race. So Abraham pretty much knows if he hits his braking points, if he hits his marks, he's going to be golden. He's not going to be forced into a move. But Yonkers are close up there, really close, and he's the unknown factor. Will he dive one up the inside? He hasn't had the opportunity to show his cards yet. So that would have been interesting. They've still got 1 lap to go, but I just think they're a little bit too separated now as it stands for anything to really go down, unfortunately.
We're watching the battle for 5th place here. That's Niels van der Kerkhout and Tariq Adam, who's desperately looking for a way in. Unfortunately, though, absolutely rock solid. It's almost a carbon copy of what Brandon Abraham is doing up front. Looking for the opportunity is one thing and being ready to pounce, but if it ultimately doesn't show up, there's not too much you're going to be able to do. So next time around is going to be the final lap. Brandon Abraham now getting onto that beautiful section of track for the last time here. Just needs to hold off Whitehead for 1 more lap. Yonkers has actually fallen back a little bit. So missile from back, unfortunately, unlikely to happen on this final lap. I'm not sure if that was the result of a mistake or something else, Luke.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an error. Again, just not really able to hang with the pace with the 2 in front, really. This is really strange. Like, Whitehead seems like he's driving well within himself, and Abraham seems like he's been on the absolute limit for the entirety of this race. Again, Sherratt, who...
On another planet.
Just be doing his own thing, really, at this stage. I can't comprehend what he's doing. He's too fast. As he runs through... Oh, okay, hold on. He just ran onto the grass there. Did he save that? That looked like it could be a potential bin situation. No, he's all good. He ran so wide through that double right-hander, and that's really the only thing that can stop you from winning the race when you're in this position is your own concentration. Looks like he ran a little bit wide, had a little bit of a brown trouser moment, but ultimately, with 1 corner to go, Jordan Sherratt, who is trying to qualify for the first time this season for the Logitech McLaren G Challenge, well, he is indeed the fastest qualifier up to this race. But as we come across the line, the Safa is going to take the checkered flag and qualify for our semi-finals. Congratulations to Jordan Sherratt. Brandon Abraham then did indeed hold off the advances, I believe, of Luke Whitehead as they come up towards the line. And yes, it will indeed be Brandon Abraham and Luke Whitehead that take P2 and P3. Marco Yonkers in P4. Niels van der Kerkhout and Tariq Adam are your top 6. They were all the closest there at the front end of the grid. But again, qualifying was key, as we said, John. And Jordan Sherratt takes the spoils.
Really nicely done there by Jordan Sherratt. I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure Jordan Sherratt knew about anything that was going on in the race behind him there. He was off on a world of his own, extending that lead to over 6 seconds towards the end of the race. Didn't really put a wheel wrong. Absolutely phenomenal drive from him. We were following the action behind him, of course, but it's difficult to sustain a race like that, even if you are starting on pole. Like you say, there's a reason why drivers who drive really quickly and are out in front of races lose to their own concentration. It's not an easy thing to keep up for the whole duration of a race.
Absolutely not. It was the key for me, though, was turn 1. He got straight across Brandon Abraham, forced Abraham to then go around the outside, which then left the door open for Luke Whitehead in third to potentially make a move on Abraham. Abraham then had to defend up the hill towards turn 2, which lost him so much time that Sherratt was already 1.5 seconds in the lead as they come down towards turn 4 and then never looked back. Those two were putting pressure on each other in Brandon Abraham and indeed Luke Whitehead. For the entirety of the race, Sherratt was, 7 seconds in the lead in the end. Again, he's not that much faster than those two guys is what you would say in the race results. Like, he is obviously quicker considering the qualifying time, but it's by 100ths of a second. In the race. He just managed it. He got out into the lead and let them two really cost each other so much time that he was head and shoulders above everyone else, realistically. So it was good.
Absolutely delightful. Part of me wants to see in the semi-finals, I want to see what Sherratt's a little bit like once he's properly in the pack and jostling for position. I want to see what his racecraft looks like. We didn't really get to see that today because, frankly, he was imperious. Behind him, Brandon Abraham. We need to talk about him just for a moment, Luke, because Brandon you said it yourself. He looked like he was on edge. The cars behind him looked a lot more comfortable, but he still just about managed to hang on.
Yeah, but maybe that's the best thing for him. You know, we saw when he won the European or the EMEA version last year that he was just on the absolute limit within Project Cars 2. We saw last time out when we actually had a little look into, we had a little profile video of him, didn't we? And he was saying that you need to know when to drive within yourself and when to be on the absolute limit. And I think maybe he's just realised that now, because he's not been really that strong. We're expecting to see him right at the front. That's how talented this young man is, but we just haven't really seen that yet. Today, though, again, he was on the limit. It's not necessarily the best idea in terms of Assetto Corsa Competizione, but normally you're racing in an endurance series in this game. An hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. Today's a 20-minute race, should I say. So racing on the limit, of course, you're going to make less mistakes over the course of 20 minutes than you would in an hour. So it made sense today. And he got the job done ultimately. So I think he's just starting to learn even more. As much as he is talented and he's incredible, we're always learning. And I think he's just learned a little bit more about himself today.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at our final results here for the sports car race, sponsored by Splunk. Jordan Sherritt in a league of his own there with 50 points, although the points won't matter for him. He's straight through to the semi-final and nearly 7 seconds behind Brandon Abraham, driving a very solid defensive race in second place. Luke Whitehead will take the third and final podium position to send those 3 drivers immediately through to the semi-finals. Marco Jonkers then finishes in 4th place. We've got Niels van der Koekel, Adam Oliphant, Valles, Seville, and Wass making up our top 10 and crucial points towards our Logitech McLaren G Challenge standings.
Yeah, I think it's vital that these drivers, we're not seeing many people race or re-qualify, should I say. I think people are trying to re-qualify, but they're just not getting to that top 30. So if you can manage to just get into the top 30 every single week, you've got a huge opportunity of qualifying here. As we look at the final 5 drivers, looks like Chris McDade, unfortunately, is not even in the list there of drivers, but it will be indeed Sebastian Cruel. It will be indeed Leo Boulay, Patrick Adamczyk, Danny Ruiz, and then Simon Yannick are your 15 drivers. As we look then at the, well, this looks like what happened to McDade then. So McDade then gets dumped off the circuit there early on in this race, and then it's just gone from bad to worse as the race has gone on. And then we look at Yannick here once again, and oh no, McDade lost it all on their own then. So McDade's just turning a little bit too early with a little bit too much pace, and then unfortunately Yannick was having to avoid that situation. And well, that is just, yeah, that's Yannick driving McDade off the road. There's no, I don't know how to really talk about that one there, John. That was pretty poor. The race winner, though, indeed was Sherritt, and then we've got the other 2, Abraham and Whitehead, who just did exactly what they needed to do, really.
Absolutely phenomenal racing. This is some of the most exciting racing you can get without there being 3 or 4 different changes of position or overtakes. It really was a battle of wills here between Brandon Abraham and Luke Whitehead.
Yeah, it certainly was. And Brandon Abraham didn't blink. Like, he has just been put under pressure for a whole 20-minute race around the circuit where if you go an inch wrong, you're in trouble. Didn't put a foot wrong. So that is huge moving forward. It's great to see a previous champion finally hitting that form again. And it's not about, you know, being in form at the start of the championship. It's about hitting form at the right time. And well, we're in the middle of it right now. If he can maintain that, moving towards our semi-finals and finals, got to watch out for Brandon Abraham once again.
So that was our sports car race, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and recap what our standings look like for the races that you saw earlier this evening. First of all, we had the stock car race that we did first. And the top 3 there are Daniel Thomas, Wojciech Malaka, and Sander Nyhoff, who will make their way straight through to the semi-finals. Congratulations to them. A massive stock car field today with a lot of drivers getting crucial points in the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. Still another 2 months to go, so they will have an opportunity to go ahead and grab some additional points later on. And of course, the top point scorers, as well as the podium finishes for each month, will make it through to the semi-finals. So there's every possibility that every point you accrue matters, and it just about squeezes you into that top 30. We then had the open wheel race where the 3 drivers finishing on the podium and are able to take us through directly to the semi-finals, Soria, Lemonek, and Summers. And this was such an entertaining race, Luke, and it finished brilliantly as well. We genuinely didn't know which cars would be in the top 3 and in what order until the last half of the last lap. In fact, until the last corner.
Yeah, the best thing about that really is that we're going to get to see those 3 drivers added to the drivers that have already qualified in our semi-final. So we get to watch that all over again.
Oh, I can't wait. That's going to be so phenomenal. And hopefully, you know, I don't mind the tussles. I don't mind the on-track shenanigans, but maybe let's not have them on lap 15 of 15 this time, yeah? Let's maybe save the theatrics for earlier on in the race. But what a phenomenal open wheel race we had. And of course, we also just had the sports car race as well, which has just completed. So that's all 3 races in today's Logitech McLaren G Challenge done. But I believe we've now got a word with our sports car champion from that race. Jordan Sherritt, I believe, is on the line. Jordan, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hey, guys.
Hey, Jordan, congratulations. You made that race look easy when there was so much pressure amongst the pack behind you. Luke also rightly mentioned, I'm sure he'll ask you more about this, that your first time qualifying, I mean, if that was the case, it didn't look like it to me. On pole, beautiful race. How are you feeling right now?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good. A bit like, you know, it might have looked easy, but this track is really hard to keep the car on track. And like, if you just if you just go wide slightly in some corners, you can easily go off. So it was really hard, actually. It might have looked easy from the outside, but it was really hard, like driving.
Well, first of all, congratulations on winning the race and getting yourself to the semi-finals. But the move of the race really was turn number 1. Straight off the bat in the start, you got straight across Brandon, forced him to then go out wide and then battle with Luke Whitehead. Was that the key moment of the race for you?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, Brands Hatch, it's very hard to pass unless the guy in front makes a mistake. So if I just got the whole shot into T1 and I never made a mistake, I think it was going to be a easy race. Oh, well, I mean, not easy, but it's a hard track for other people to pass. So for me, it would have been easy. So yeah, definitely T1 was the vital point in the race.
100%. And we did notice on the last lap, and again, it might just be from our view, the double right-hander in the forest section. Did you run wide onto the grass? Was that a lapse of concentration? Or maybe we just had a bit of a different view to what you had?
No, you're right. I actually tried to take it easy, but when I took it easy, I ended up making mistakes, you know? So it's like, you got to stay on the limit, like, because when you like off the limit, you don't really know what the car's going to do. So yeah, that definitely was me.
Obviously, as a dominant race winner, do you have any tips for anyone that's out there watching right now thinking, oh, maybe I should give this a go?
Yes, practice. Practice is the most vital point in sim racing. Like, everyone has to start somewhere. So, you know, I started slow, like I was really off the pace, and all I did is practice and practice and practice. And that's what got me to where I am now. So just keep doing laps. That's all I can say.
Well, that
nice
practice
well
has
done,
certainly
mate.
paid off.
Congratulations.
Absolutely fantastic job,
as
Jordan.
well.
And I look forward to seeing you guys in the semi-finals. How are you feeling the semi-finals are going to be? Are they likely going to be quite different to the race you just had? Are you expecting something very different?
Hard to say. Depends on the track, because obviously all sim races have their own favorite tracks. So
yeah.
If it's one of my favorite tracks, then it will still be hard, because I have a few teammates that are there, like Tobias, Dennis, and so perhaps we could work together and try and get through. So yeah.
Go on, without jinxing it, name a couple of the tracks that you'd like to see.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. Bathurst. I love Bathurst.
Oh wow, okay.
Funny enough, I like all the hard tracks in this game. So like Kailami, of course, because I'm South African. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I like most of the tracks actually, but there are a few that I'm really like, well, better at, should I say? So yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much, Jordan. That was an absolutely phenomenal race. Congratulations once again at making it through to the semi-final, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you guys too. Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it.
So that is it for this particular edition of the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. This was the EMEA region. We will be back later on in the evening on this very channel with the Asia Pacific competition as well. You can also all join in the competition. Just go to logitechgchallenge.com to take a look and check out the tracks later on. Luke, any thoughts before we move on to APAC?
I just think we've seen the more psychological side of sim racing this week so far. We've, previous weeks we've seen like the flat out overtaking, crazy action, but today we've really seen them tested in the mental aspect of the games that they've been playing. So I'm sure we're going to see more of that over the weekend. I'm hoping for a few more overtakes though as the weekend goes on. But yeah, solid start to the weekend for sure.
So that's it from our first stream here of the weekend. A massive thank you to Splunk, to Logitech G, Quantum Pay, and McLaren once again. You've just finished watching the G Challenge competitions in EMEA. We have the stock car, we have the open wheel, we have the sports car as well. We will be coming back at you in a couple of hours with the APAC competition as well. It's going to be absolutely action-packed, and you don't want to miss that either. We look forward to seeing you then.